will in the fecio you make trio of this. I been she Marshall Neil come here will she got
well page near which are
so show much direction
Rifus the Yola Hood the rock with collision sheet body. No. By second would take over. Well, that's not which in Arenos Mar Family job to check all our ball which is show go over. Get the Mujiveg fan of the family Road Marshall. So, come starship Berfad enough. Which Berfad. Braham Gwil Gachten and Shaw. No nachmór gachtainna compórdaach I glár Gaeilge agus go dtigin gachtainna Gaeilge which is in fear no bhfuil dolamú alarm. Okay, hiad na daoine seo atá compórdaach ag feimú trí Gaeilge a nacht. So hartar Gaeilge and who of you are not comfortable functioning through Irish this evening? Okay, then we'll do both. Okay, so before we start with the really very, very hard work that we're going to be doing for 3 hours, and there'll be no smiles, and there'll be nothing pleasant about this at all, we will have a small bit of something nice, just so we get to know each other a little bit. Can you each just talk to the person beside you for 30 seconds and find out who they are, and where they come from, what they do, cén fá a bhfuil siad an seo, agus an sin again, Shaska second, Tuish of Fad Tuish than group of Windina and Akila live. Okay? So talk a second on dinner on Antolishin Avaru. Take 30 seconds to collect that information from your neighbor and then you'll tell me about them in a second. And
Okay, cool.
I guess I was thinking, I guess we're going to talk about and then we can think about you.
Nice. Cool.
Common thread.
I think I work on a script.
Appreciate it. I
So, okay. On Rev Dohan Amagid, did you have enough time? On Rev Dohan Amagid? Yeah? Dr. Nasasta? Okay, so Tosman with lots of major mic. Okay, on your rock to part on, Calculor. Chin too small. So get futa. An inchoi to dom fui an farsha in Aklat.
Shaw Jason
Okay.
is phosphorus parking.
Okay.
You're Tave here than Catherine.
Okay.
Pardon.
Tape her no tape here.
Tave here.
Okay.
Runner. Ta Colleen Bug again.
Okay. Call this anum G, Jason.
I'm sorry.
Call this anum to the Khalin, to the Inin.
Fiona.
Fiona. Oh, good job. Okay. And Rodella, anything else?
Me.
Okay, Jason, can you tell us about the lady beside you?
So, I'm trying to think how I would say she lives.
Mm-hmm. Filat Kawardash? Ta?
Tashi in
Tashi,
Tony.
Tashi is the homie, the uptown. That's a neighborhood.
It's failing uptown raw. Does it like Usa Tashi Kakalo uptown raw? No here. Come on. Anything else? Any other information about her?
I'm trying to remember words after that. I've not been in the class for this year. I'm trying to figure out how to say she has a son.
Okay. Ta?
Thomas.
Eki.
Thomas.
Eki. She has. It's much easier actually than English when you think about it. Okay. Anything else about her? Anything else interesting?
No.
Okay. So you're just very boring. Is what you're saying. Okay. So ladronach. That's the word for boring. Ladronach. Tashi ladronach. No, me don't do it. So Keshtawan, a rinne Dartmouth, Curve, Ken Fa, a Wilshiv and Shaw, a Nacht. An Wilshiv, ag Folum Gaeilge, Wilshiv, ag play le Grupa Gaeilge, Nordagen Marshin. Are you just learning Irish? Are you active with some kind of group that's involved with Irish? Why have you joined us this evening?
I've taken Irish at the Heritage Center
Okay.
a couple of times. And I have some friends in the Gaeilge in Kerry from the Binghamton.
Oh, okay.
So,
Are you a Kerry man?
no, but I wish I was because it's gorgeous there.
Okay.
I would love to actually live there.
Okay. Yeah, well, we'll see what we can do about that. Hi, Antusa Ragnar.
Yeah.
Just Castler. Fourth Road. We'll call here with.
Yeah.
Okay. Will I now give Aaron Barsha?
Yeah.
Sure, on the Realtus Nahairn. Didn't on if you do effort.
On here involved. No, Ragnar is the stand done. So Anna Sulan, Boston Sulan matter. Only go for summer vice council. Working in here. Because we matter Dolan J. Gaeilge, Sulan actually. Sala, the old school Sala and shit. Agus the honey trasna in the Kiri scale the value they got of course he valued this not take stairs agus the Sula Shin at the Nagoni and blasted more agus the worship post smart olive valued this in our code court Glashan Whole School of
So Chui Session Gakiri, so you can go to Kerry as well. So there's hope.
I totally agree on that.
So you're going to classes.
Yeah.
August and will Tussa. Pardon?
I'm not currently in classes because I had to choose between classes.
It's not confession. It's okay. It's okay.
Fiona made it one choice between class and music.
Okay. August Tussa, Colleen, will Tussa ag Muina no ag Folum no will tu.
Tom Folum. August Tom Ibal in the wall then wrong enough Micah August.
Okay.
Evan on
Agus an Moontori Maha iad will tu sauce do.
Montori Sarwa.
Ítach. Okay. Céir fi an Cornéal shop. What about this corner? Céir fi an man in Aquilat? Shallow?
Si Mara.
More? Okay.
Agus tá Mara ag fólam Gaeilge I ran my profession.
Okay.
Agus tá si éirithe as a post má náisiúthe, you know.
Okay.
Ach bhí si déal le cumarsáid agus rudí mar sin, so
Okay.
bháil le
Absolute.
hí níos mó her talents. Úsáid.
Rediscovered.
Talents.
Úsáid
Ken focal go failing úsáid the talents. Indian. Cumas? Agus cumis. No, bua agus buana. Yeah. Yeah.
a bhna úsáid san na cúise.
Ítach. Okay.
Her chun cín, you know,
Ítach.
sna pobl difriúla.
Okay.
You know.
Come on. Well, Tassulan go maiid mit all a couple of fragra á sin a nacht and a couple of swineh a bhainú. Ceirt faoi tealach máire.
Shai Kelly is as Ridleyville B.
Okay.
Agus is Montreal Gaeilge B.
Céáid?
Kin
Céáid? I mean to ag tagas?
Again, Anad,
Ag an anad,
yeah,
okay.
The center.
Ein Rodella, any secrets in room?
Is Ben and Jesse.
Oh, okay.
There's no secret.
Ní rúla sé. Okay. Ceapleor. Agus céim fá a bhfuil si an seo a nacht? Why is she here this evening?
To help me communicate.
Fragra
My
an
mission.
Okay. Come on. Ceart fuaibh sé an bhar tagaibh sé.
So seo í Shannon.
Shannon?
Is as main í agus siise a chuir tú leis an rang atá agin i Gaeilge Park.
Okay. Ceapan go chuúil meis céalfaí sin. But tú ag fólam le 3 bliana nuas.
Yeah.
Yeah, tá scéal cliste agam. Tá faoin si ólas an a bhagam. Faoi sin. Come on. Agus bhfuil mór an daoine fólam libh sé.
Tá dóréig sa rang idir mort
Yeah.
agus dóréig sa rang idir.
Okay, faoi sin. Anú ar fad. Agus conas tá ag airí leis na rangana bhfuil daoine ag gleannacht a rain bhfuil an daoine nua ag teacht.
Well tá rang
Yeah.
idir bhana agin idir agus tá an grúpa sin an grúpa bhí agin tú.
Okay. Ítach. An bhá? Shannon é scéal faoi aine.
So, Tabiata Brotherhood,
Mhm.
so I'll do it in English, that's all right?
That's fine.
So,
That's
all
fine.
right, because otherwise we'll be here all night.
No, that's fine. And we have all night though.
So Anya is from Roundwood in
Mhm.
Wicklow and was a teacher over in Ireland for 15 years.
Mhm.
And we met about 3 years ago through common friends. I was looking for someone to come teach Irish and she was looking to teach Irish. So we started a group at Gaeilge Park.
Great.
So I'm still learning.
Have you visited Roundwood?
I have not, no.
Okay.
She has.
She just hasn't invited you, I think. It's a lovely place. Very nice place.
Great things.
So, I think maybe we'll move to Ryan before he tucks into this great,
you're my
delicious
guest.
looking dinner. Will Ola's agad fui an far naklat?
Tá?
Ach Neil tú chun é instant. You are what you're not going to tell.
Shao Sean.
Sean,
Agus
okay.
tá sé gobar le UPS.
UPS.
Tíman sé na Lori Moore.
The Keen done. The Laurie had done. And the Brown.
Tá.
Yeah.
Agus tá sé ina chonaí I Bridgeport agus is as na northwest side of Ewing here. Directions are on deck.
Okay. It's us Chicago.
It's us Chicago.
Country shop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Directions are very important for
Yeah.
city folk here, northwest LA.
Take it.
Yeah, August Ton far on jazz.
Okay.
It's not far on John's side.
Come on. Sean in Olas fi Ryan. Tá fáilte bro, tas nu is Ryan. Tá sé caclor.
From here.
Okay. Bantain of us.
I'm going to do it in English. Ryan is from the wilds of Central Illinois, Springfield area. He does work for the government, but he didn't say what it exactly was. So.
Maybe we will guess in the course of the evening.
And he lives in the up-and-coming East Humboldt Park neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And he's about to enjoy some food.
Okay. Anna, will tú gonna ein Olas a hort doing fi the ober runde den realtas?
Mission? This public service or may
Oh, okay. Anna,
serve the public.
oh, come on. Okay, agus will nask ag Sean le Tyrone. Will kush fi le? No, an gamzi átu le seo?
Pull up.
Ola, quick Ola.
Prevent. I can't speak today.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Provincial.
Okay, kuigich. It's gamzi kuige ole. Anna. Okay, an vert jarnach is stoge? Keert Elish?
Well, Caachna an Suir Tashkul Shay in Moran.
Oh, tá sé in Iran. Okay.
So, Nisma Olas Fui, was Femur and Fui and Pasta baby.
Okay.
She over Marmon Shore, and T Pass, Chicago. Vokshe of Saudi Arabia, Mimunisa.
Mm-hmm.
Bishe Governor Marmon Shore, Shah, Fashion. At Funskul is Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
Via Van Kale Governor Marmon Shore, Fashion.
Okay.
Kali, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Akmil and
Okay. Kada sanam the Khalin Kara? No one ini no Khalin. Ini.
Yeah.
Kada sanam the ini. Anna. Okay.
Anna Sanamdi.
Anna sanam G. Come on. Anam yes. So in scale Rick no Rich.
Rich.
Okay.
Eilish is Sanamdi.
Mm-hmm.
Agus Toshi Mutual Gaeilge. Agus Rogu Agus Togu in Chicago.
Yeah. Agus Kirfi Carvasta the rich. Carvasto. Carvasta rich.
It says,
Locklear, okay. Kane Archim Locklear. Dunlera, oh. Kingstown. Annie, no, Dunlera. File Henri. No, come on. August V2 Saudi Arabia, freshen August in Shin, Chicago.
Van Kale from here.
Okay. So are we to let Saudi Arabia or will today on show? Thailand, okay. And will ain Tirella or a Bontag? No, and it shouldn't scale or fod.
Did you just say where else did we go?
Any other countries, yeah.
Let's just say in English. So we moved to Vietnam, stayed there for a couple of years, then moved to Saudi Arabia, Chiching, and wanted to start a family. We need to go back to my family, Rich.
Okay.
I was not going to disagree with her.
So you're an NG sport.
They're called love miles.
Okay. So, okay. So on one. So Sheelam tá annach chuid daltaí an seo in ocht agus tá annach chuid múntóirí an seo in ocht. An bhfuil aon den an seo nach seachas tú hain nach múntóir nó daltaí iad. An bhfuil aine an seo nach múntóir nó dalta iad. Okay, come on. So, Cert fumsa. Bhfuil aon ólas agus fumsa? Níl? Okay, well, Kirkeshner, mar sin. Kirkeshner. Chaos. Locklear. Céáid? Sin an ceist an ceist is táiltí. Bra fearnáin. So, Níl sé ro úsachmach, níl sé ro ísleachmach, tá sé sa láir.
Metro school of Flashan.
Ní ra, chuim mé go dtí scoil leithí agus chuim mé go dtí scoil eile high school ar a car fan ní sin.
In the hand flush down.
Yeah.
Leave for love, you know what they're in.
Sure.
So blue but lousy.
Sure. Ja, but tá scoil an bháil, le tá an cháil ar an scoil. Ar an gomáis metáiltaí, sna, scrúdathe. Tá ar chríochnaí tú hain céim blion.
Well, I think it's a hanging.
Obviously sa hain. Oh, so Thomas seans go raibh tú sa scoile anna chuisí a bhí mó wrong. Yeah.
Be blind, but then
Yeah.
it's square.
Okay. Yeah. Níor has tú leanach do rá leis an drám céine ón bhn scoil, so sin chum méid scoil eile. Yeah. Agus Tosa, cad is an duit?
Michigan, Virginia.
Virginia.
It's us, Chicago, man.
Okay.
We moved shore.
Okay.
Spanish first after.
Oh, so an cantar Spanish a who? Well, Spanish agat.
¿Qué dice?
See.
His obligation the impression. So.
It's much of man.
Come on. So tá
Agus tá duine bhain eile an seo.
Okay, tá an seo ar Skype.
Some of featuring
Cé tá ar Skype.
Superge. What's wrong?
Pastí ann. And is a Barbara Nobby sin scéalta fúmsa. Carlor. Tá fraggraí agat sa freisin. Ó Carlor. Just mar ólas tíise, bhí mise sa scoil in rá Barbara ag múna. Ní rá mé riamh a rang Barbara, bhí mar bhreathir a rang Barbara ar fá tamlín. Ó, ní dulin go sin fíor. Ar éos, cedí tú gur rá?
Chicago.
Gur maithe?
Le cúna dé be me de húlódar an chéadú elas, mu liiscil nach chun mensin gur mágad Carnach Smike as deise húsfam a bheith líb ar Skype.
Gur a fáid ród. So bhfuil ceiste be agat den jam atá ag sí os ar ggóir?
Ní le chun leanachta le a chasáibre a
Okay.
chunne me se pósabing.
Calculor. Críoch ná muid leis na ceisna romsa ar dús agus an sin tos ná muid brandú seach sa leabhrán seo. Calculor. So bhfuil ein ceist eile ag aine chumsa. Fúmsa, bhí mo chuid ibre, bhí céim fáil man seo. Any questions? Níl ein ceist eile? Cad is anam dom, mar hampla?
Cad é na sprachan na tása?
Na spracna támsa. Tá mi sé ag obair le grúpa darbanam Conradh na Gaeilge. Ar chúla sibh riamh faoi Conradh na Gaeilge? Agus bhfuil is agah cad a dhéanaan Conradh na Gaeilge?
Couldn't she dance in the
Se, Bonnie tá spruc an siimplí ag an Conradh cé go mín annach chuid rudí agsúla ar siúlaging. An spruc atá ag an Conradh ná an Gaeilge a chuineáil á labhairt. Sin an spruc an siimplí sin. So ein a gníomh a hacíonn le sin, ein fachtas a hacíonn le sin, ein iirecht a dhéanaan ein duna institút a bhanú a hacíonn le sin, ein iirecht a dhéanaan in ag antanga a bhúna hacíonn muid le sin. Bhín muid a gcuine ein duna a bhíonn sa géirí ionsaí a dhéanamh ar an Gaeilge nó an Gaeilge a chur faoi chus ar ein bhealach, agus is omí gné éagsúla bhainint leis an obair sin ar fad. So Conradh na Gaeilge was set up with the very simple aim of keeping Irish spoken. It was set up at a time where the conditions in Ireland for the Irish language were very difficult. It wasn't very strong in the school system. It wasn't really taught officially in the schools in Ireland. There was a lot of pressure on people to stop speaking Irish and speak English. And the Conradh tried very hard to reverse that process. The ultimate aim of Conradh na Gaeilge would be to restore Irish as the vernacular language in Ireland that day is quite far away, but there's a lot we can do in the meantime to strengthen the language. So, Shane fá gwil man seo anocht, ná, gwil anachwyd kaint in airan fwy láhar, fwy cerdatar ag siúl leis an Gaeilge haar lear. Fector a cumulúchas Gael an GAA ag fás, Fector gwil a gairi gohintach leis an geol, tradiisiúnta an geol Gaelach haar lear, ach ní ectar gwil an fás céine ag tarlú leis an Gaeilge haar lear. Agus tá muid ag déanamh iirecht, ólas a bhailiú faoin na grúpaí Gaeilge haar lear, tá muid ag éirí fáil amach, cad go dtíorcha tarsúil acu, agus cad is féidir linge a dhéanamh chun tacu leo. So we're trying to find out what's going on with different Irish language groups overseas to help them in their work, to help them to grow, to help to strengthen the use of Irish abroad. So sinna fáil man seo anocht, agus bháilm sa gombeach sibse ag chorólas ar fáil ghamsa. And is an príomh rud atá genta agin chun tacu libh ar dús mark an chinál céad céim ná tá muid éis an leabhrán seo a chur le chéile. Is cinál handbook é de grúpaí Gaeilge haar lear. Agus tá neart ólas an ach tá níos mó ólas fós agin ar siomh Idirlín chunar na Gaeilge. There's a lot in here, but there's even more actually available on our website, cnag.ie. So má bhraíonn sibh isteach sa leabhrán, feiceadh sibh ghuiil sé ranta I ranó bhí éagsúla. So tá cúpla focail ag an tús ag míú cé muide agus céim fábhaim an seo, sin dearch genta agam. Tá ranóg faoi na gníomhachaí na gníomhanna éagsúla go féidir a dhéanamh haar lear chun grúpaí Gaeilge agus gréasán Gaeilge a neart tú. Tá ranóg faoi ideichas, is dócha go rud é sin a bhfuil anspéis agah se an is léir go bhfuil annachchuid ar siúl agah hana hain a hagans faoi sca na ranóg sin. Ach tá seans go bhfuil rud nó ró lúte istehan seo beidir nachhfuil ar siúl agah nó rud éigen go féidir béim eile a chur bhfuil gach ceart leor an sin.
Fuair mé beirt eile leis an gólá seo. Níos le man féidir an Mike Orucho, die me push Keshtikar and over Martian, or especially which finally agus putty Martian.
Okay. Tá sin go bra. Tá ranóg faoi imachtaí hóisialta, cad gur féidir dhéanamh chuna si de fleanáil, smaointí faoi cinálacha éagsúla, imachtaí sóisialta, smaointe agus coppla tagart de feibliocht. Tá ranóg faoi chuirsaí airgeadais, ranóg faoi afcódiocht, sin banan se sin leis an danga le de bailíontanga churchan cín go hidirnáisiúnta agus an sin tá lista taghála ag an deire. Candas na rudaí tá mé gur níos mó clistáil webse nacht, candas na rudaí atá clistáil gin hana hain. Ná go mín daoine go minic aineolach nó nach mín an tólas acu, faoi annachchuid as na háisina atá ar fáil. Na stáisiún radio go féidir éisteach le cleachta lena chuid lena chumas éisteachta a chleachta hadchréaltaí atá ar fáil, na físeán éagsúla atá ar fáil ar lína, na seirbhísí a churns TG Cahar ar fáil tríd an seintóir atá acu, tá apig TG Cahar tá sé anéas go breanúir helafís trí réiges na stá déanta inis leis an app ar iPad nó phone nó Android. Agus tá takeíocht ar fáil freisin agus ba Ragnar ábalta beidir leirtbegan níon faoi seo, tá takeíocht díireach ar fáil ón rainn gnóí achtarcha de grúpaí Gaeilge a tíomh mu de air. So rachamid tríd na rudí seo ar fád. Sílam gur bé an churchuige is fearr ar dús ná má bhrisean muid an grúpa mór seo isteach in grúpaí níos lú, agus má thógan gach grúpa ceandas na ranóga seo ar fa 5 nó 10 nóméid. Má léann siad tríd an tólasatá sin, agus an sin má churn siad an tólas sin I láthair den mór grúpa le cúpla smaoinemh dá chuid féin curtha leis. An sin pléimiid ar fad le chéile beidir bhfuil níos mó smaointe fós agin mar mór grúpa agus an sin ba muid ábalta pointí a legan amach agus ba mis ábalta chuis an tóla sin a thuirte rasta bhlá clia agus beidir amachchan seo leabhrán níos fearr a chuir le chéile leis an ólas freise an. But Shishing, Soler, is the suggestion I made clear?
No.
It's not clear?
I don't know.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to break up into small groups, and each group is going to take one small section of this booklet here. And they're going to look through the information in here. They're going to add a few suggestions of their own, and then in a few minutes we'll come back, and those mini groups will present the information they have taken from both this book and from their own experience, presented to the larger group. We'll discuss as well what the opinions of the larger group are on those things, and then we will write that all down so that I can go back to Dublin and I have feedback from you on what you think about all of these different things. And I think that if we put all of that information together, that we will end up with a much more informed picture of both where we are now and the kinds of things we can do to strengthen Irish language groups overseas. And you can present the information in Irish or in English. The book is fully bilingual, so you can read the Irish version or the English version, and you can present the information in Irish or in English afterwards. Okay? So, Sheelam Gorchor Ganech Groupi the Shrure Gobrersha, I think we should have groups of 3. So, Brishamwit, the Groupi Suas Bioganin, Aim, Do, 3, Kiahar, Kuig, Aim, Do, 3, Kiahar, Kuig, Aim, Do, 3, Kiahar, Kuig. An féidir leis na hibhar héanacha, na hibhar dó, hibhar 3, hibhar Kiahar, agus hibhar Kuig, Boga agus sí le chéile, beidir go bhagamuid Ryan an seo mar. So rachi na hibhar 3 ar fad an seo, in aca le Ryan mar bhfuil bia aige. You stay there. The other 3s will come to you. Okay. Bóisá, is féile Barbara des a grúpa atá ag sí an sin. Sin is socha an réiteach a sin lí. Well, what dar nói níl an cápéis eki. Is féidir linn green graph I heolach ici den lehanní atá á lé. Féidir. Yeah. The 3 an seo?
The tree?
Yeah.
Hello.
Good to see you.
So just pull that up. Get the tache forma equatory.
Yeah.
Oh.
Are you in 3?
Yes, I'm in 3.
Wonderful.
No! What section are we looking at?
Food.
Oh man, go bring your food over.
Oh, okay.
So do I read 3 and seo?
Yeah. Sure. All we have to do is find out what section we're looking at.
Right.
Ooh, look at these nice little bracelets.
Yeah.
I'm giving these away. I'm putting them on right now. Need to walk off a bit, but hey. Ooh, shepherd's pie. That looks great.
Yeah.
Find out what section we'll find out. We'll find out what section we're looking at. And then we'll show you food. Rolling. Jason, what class are you in?
I'm with Mike.
Okay, perfect. Saturday class?
Actually, I'm not in the class this year. I had to choose between music and Irish class.
Sometimes you have to make those decisions, but you're here with us now, which is what's important.
Yeah.
Not something that goes away that you give up.
Oh yeah, definitely. I still stop in before class.
Super. Yeah. Absolutely wonderful.
And try and talk to my friend in Kerry and speak Irish with them.
In Kerry?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And Dingle Peninsula.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. My family's from Kerry.
Okay.
We're actually from our family, like, truly Spanish.
Okay.
féidir leis brano ar imachtaí sosialta.
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
Fine. Right.
If we were to. Yeah, okay, so comprehension Barbara.
I'm just reading social events.
Yeah, because
I'm just reading
Owen. Hi, Owen. Good. So will the name Ellis group show Shabbos on two rods here? Okay. I'm looking at additional focus and graph and anatomy of many different I'm sure that would read for here. Okay. So animation. Okay, on green graph of mobile and anatomy of play. I will show them it to a real for here. Okay. The sun's combined green graph No, there's
interesting to look at the big picture. I just said, have a look at publicity. I started flipping pages.
Oh, yeah.
Using Irish on social media. It's nice. Money matters. I don't even know, is our school, does it have nonprofit status? That would be nice to know.
Yeah.
Right.
That would be nice to know.
Where do you take class at?
At the Irish Heritage Center, Wednesday.
Oh, on Wednesday.
So I know, my
Right.
the Saturday. Kelly was my first teacher right now.
Okay.
I'm just curious. Actually, because I noticed it, that this outfit gives money to non-profit organizations.
Oh,
This outfit is supporting your school.
All these things would be connected to like the park and then an application for a park, be it that
Games night, amazing. When I can think of is like take a Monopoly board, maybe just make it like, those are all streets in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Maybe just make them all like streets in.
You know, I'll bet they're I can bring the cards back.
Yeah.
I've given as gifts.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should have Irish game nights.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
And it's all like the board.
Right. We could even probably purchase some resources. I think there's games. There's games. I bought them as gifts for our teachers. You know, like 20% and stuff. Game nights, buy games. We've done some of that. Nice. What did you order? I thought you were Irish. I'm just joking. No, I'm just joking. It's the first time I heard that. She came over. I invited her for dinner, and I looked her in the face and she laughed. I said, "Let me ask, are you vegetarian?" I said, "Oh, no, Jim." I just thought it
That was pretty good.
Are you vegetarian? Oh, no. I thought it was there you go. Now,
Yeah, we have that whole place.
well, not necessarily. The question of venue support, to tell you the truth, I think it would strengthen our organization to be even more of the center, IAAC, being supportive of us. And by that I mean more research would need to be done. But for example, I have sat in on meetings where the previous president was saying, well, it's a school, and they're getting money, not us. We're talking about the dance school. You know, they're a school, they're getting money. We need to charge them, we need to, you know. And yes, I would like, you know, for example, I'm always so aware, I mean, that when they don't brag about having this language school, they don't do it.
Yeah, right.
It's just not everyone, if they understood the value they would. But I suppose it's up to us to receive it. And it's just possible, you know, our teachers can't do everything, you know. I mean, I'm telling you, it's like, it's not like this. I know it's, well, I think, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
You're talking about Gorstu and who was president?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't seem to get any adult activities. He was all the kids. I'm sorry. You know, he didn't seem to have any. He never seemed to notice that we had Irish language classes. He thought it was worth anything. But anyway, but that's okay because, you know, we're in a position we could do something about it now. But what we're talking about is how they support us. Right? Let's keep going. These are just questions I'm asking, but in order to use the bank, I understand it does cost electricity. Right. That I understand, and heat. All right, I understand that. But like I said, what's the support? What's the venue support? We got a venue, and if we parlay our value, we should be able to keep that pretty low to event. I don't even know what the cost is right now. I don't even know what they pay. You know, I don't even know. I know Celtic Women International is in that room upstairs, and their cover is $5 a night. Once again, that question would be what's the support.
It could be simple stuff, like you could be conversation circle. You don't even necessarily have to have that at the center. You could have that just a bar.
You're
just
right.
meet up and
You
talk.
could set them up you could set it up at a place like this.
Coffee morning. You could have go to a cafe and
Right.
talking. It's just all in Irish. Maybe talk about current events in Irish or something. Like, Pulatu, did you hear about the election? Oh, you hear they're raising whatever. Sports, it could be sports related. You're talking about American sports, but in Irish, maybe?
That's true.
Yep.
How do you say Cubs win World Series?
We were saying that a lot.
Well, yeah.
We were saying that a lot.
Volna
Yeah.
won.
Yeah, the Covenant. And then somebody else was calling them what, the Little Bears? Sorry.
I was calling them the Bearini. Yeah, the little bears. 'Cause I didn't know the Covenant.
The Bearini.
The Bearini, yeah.
Ooh, cute. Mediums that, I'm still one for watching films. That just not
that's right.
there, but
There are some really good film shorts.
Brilliant films. I guess I'm still a person who I still like to come together and watch films as opposed to sitting and watching.
Yeah, exactly. You could do that. You could have a film night and then afterwards kind of talk about the thing.
But they got a bunch of those films like Feast the Short.
There's plenty of just they're about 20, 30 minutes of pop. And you could, I'm thinking of one of my favorite ones is that Ross and the Galway, which is like the Galway races. It's you just watch it afterwards and be like, okay, that one's a little funny. That's like a funny one, but it'd be hard. I don't know what you talk about afterwards. It'd be like
anything.
Yeah, anything. It'd be always the funniest part of it.
Right. I mean, just to watch stuff together.
You don't even have to talk, but I guess just come together and.
No, you'll wind up talking. You wind up talking about it. That's the thing. You won't wind up just sitting.
Sure. Rest the leg.
Irish ball, Irish language drama. Good luck with that. I'm not quite there.
Never, Guinness, please.
Appreciate
it. Thank you.
No, I'm good actually.
I hate to be laughing at everybody on my beard, but I feel like I might be coming down with something. And so Guinness is probably good for that.
Yeah.
2 or 3 or 8 of them.
The more the better.
There you go. You better take care of yourself. One more.
Yeah, it's not, but I'm feeling sick, so I better.
Guinness.
Yeah, Guinness. Masha de Hella. I taught I brought my Irish book back home because my phone was low and I went to a family function. And my niece can read English real well. She's 7. Wait, no. She's 7, yeah. So she brought me a book and she said, "Honest to talk to." I didn't even say anything to her. And I said, "Tommy, go on, stay." She goes, I said, "I'm good, and how are you?" She's like looking to see the answer, and then she likes to play sport. We play girl. She says, "Let's go downstairs and play Irish like it was English class." And I taught her to say Swan, and her dad Sean. She goes, "I'm gonna tell my dad Swan, Sean." I thought it was too cute.
Kids are amazing.
I'm always talking to her about it, and then she saw my book and grabbed it when I wasn't looking.
I'm always one who's looking for like hard copies of this stuff, or like DVDs.
Yeah, true enough.
Because personally, I can't like stream this stuff. I can't watch it.
You have the internet at your home?
Plus, I can't.
Do you pay it though? Do you pay that fortune to get it? No?
No, I'm not paying the fortune. I can't pay the fortune.
Okay.
So I'm not watching stuff online.
Fair enough.
I'm just going to say hard copies. Like, send us a copy of Feast and
Yeah,
hard copies. Whatever. That would be nice. That would be helpful when they can do it, which they can with some of the stuff that T.G. Cotter is.
It's some historical stuff, and they have funny stuff. They have a show where the guy just walks around and talks about trees.
Very Irish.
On the heron.
Very Irish. Very Irish. Talk about trees. You know what's missing in medium-sized events? Singing.
There you go. You could have like a kind of an open mic. Ask Sluggy.
Well, you could have an open mic, or in classic Irish tradition, sing along. Not even an open mic, it's all sing along. You know, everybody get together, bring your song, let's sing it along, bring your words.
Print up the lyrics.
Print up the lyrics. The fuckle. I don't know, but the fucklam. I'm kind of getting there.
Yeah.
With the plurals.
It's not like English where you just throw an S on it.
Yeah.
You gotta, what is it, check, plural is chihit, I think. Like, just say check tavern, but it's chihit tavern.
There you go.
That's, where did that come from? Man, this is a lot of food, a lot of. I got the vegetarian dinner. So, I don't even know if this is really good.
All right, so let's get to the point here.
You know what? Now, quit beating on the bush.
These people help support us. Let's go. What do they do for us? Okay, we're handling social events.
Leave my book club.
Give us hard copies of stuff. Give us books. Yeah, book club.
Books, DVDs.
Book club. Give us books.
Maybe music. Maybe they already have like tape stuff like that. CDs. Just tapes is a bit archaic.
Yeah, a friend told me about 10 years ago. Like, music.
I will take what we can get.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I know I'm so old school that I was just not online stuff. And if you are aware of my problem, I can't access online stuff.
Thank you. That great. This is really good.
Look at the mushroom right here on there. That's moving around.
I appreciate
If
it.
for some reason they did something they couldn't put on there, so it's take care of that.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You want bucks?
No, it's sure.
What was it, diet or regular?
It's regular.
Well,
Actually, that's okay. I probably shouldn't drink too much. It'll keep me up all night.
All right, so we're looking for hard copies of stuff, we're looking for books, we're looking for music, we're looking for DVDs. You know, how can we get a copy machine? I'm not kidding.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
you know, how can we
Average language drama. Is there a place there you can put on a play or so?
Well, there
It's
are,
hard.
but who's good at it? I mean, I'm an actor. I do drama, but.
You get
And I do
enough of the
them.
language?
I do them.
Oh, okay. Well, there's one person right there.
I guess
You're
there is
yourself.
one person, but it's like trying to do an actual. I mean, I like write stuff, but
Sounds like these are all reasons why we should do it. We got an actor and a writer and
no man,
all
that's
around.
just me. I mean, I've looked at like these simple like Irish dramas. They're like beyond my capacity. I would look at another recently. It's like maybe next year. You know, but I actually I did. I guess I did that one.
Oh, it's got the harp right there on there. Engage all the senses: taste, smell,
Well, now
touch.
let's keep looking. Our job is to make recommendations on how they can support our center. Buy us a copy. You know. Oh yeah, great. Here we go. Let me just get.
I'm gonna be looking at this just to learn, increase my vocabulary. Speed dating.
Culture.
Here, yeah.
Just love culture.
I'm a good language. Language is so fun.
Oh my goodness. Hey man, it sounds like they're talking about starting a little culture club.
Oh man, Boy George.
What is a culture club? A variety of initiatives.
Did you get everything you were saying?
Of course not.
I might sit there.
I'm sitting there going like this.
like, this Virginia, she knows, she's on every word.
No. I just came to see that my high school conventions, listening to public speaking. It's not enough to listen. You have to look like you're listening and look at. I'm sorry, but this is literally what I was scoring my students on.
Okay.
You know, it's not enough to listen. But you look like you're interested.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Look like you understand. The other side, if the lights are on and there's no one home, I did not say that. But, I'm not interested.
Yeah. Take it.
I got a lot.
A few, yeah.
No, I actually.
I haven't somebody said we're gonna break up into groups. I kind of got a lot of that.
I got it. I actually got that stuff.
But now I can't believe you said you gotta take it to make it.
No, that's,
Okay,
you know, I've been
okay.
teaching theater and acting for like my entire life. That's true.
It's asked her to.
It's true. When I remember, like, I had like 3 or 4 degrees in theater. So many degrees. But so at one point I was in like an MFA school. And I'm in an MFA school and I watched this really good guy. He was a director. He wrote the all right. I mean, he became, you know, this type of stuff.
Sure.
Really, really good. And I would see people come to me saying, I don't know what I'm doing here. You know? And he'd say, it's okay. It's like you know what you're doing. Why do you think we call it action? You know, I don't know the song. That's okay. You know? Why do you think we call it acting? It was the universal answer. Just get up and know what you're doing.
Yeah.
By and large, the audience will buy it. Right, so here's the thing about culture, right?
Here's another.
Oh, yay! Hi! Florist. Hi, darling.
In fairness,
How
I think
nice.
only 3 of us ordered food.
Yeah, how nice to see you. Thank you.
Are you from Minnesota?
Hey, pull up the chair.
Why not?
Somebody's sitting right there. Grab a chair and sit right here. Come on over. See if we can get to one of these nice boys. Hey, girl.
So.
Oh, yeah.
Is our tip.
Well.
Tell me the Gary. Dirt.
Okay.
Dromedary.
That's why we're here.
Talking about ideas. Obviously, I don't know. She's taking notes, just things to get together, you know. I mean, obviously there's some here, but here's the first idea I had. Man, it was a good one too.
We'll get into that, but if you have any, we'll do that with our group. If you have any specific questions right now.
Well, may I ask, what is it particularly that you're looking for from us?
Well, I'm looking for information to enable me and our organization to help you better.
Okay.
Now, this is kind of our first thing we're putting on the table, stuff that we know already, but this is not a Bible. This is not like, this may be helpful, it may not be. I'd like to know if any of this is helpful, and if there's anything you think can be added to that.
This is quite handy.
We're looking, I mean, there's a lot of good ideas, like obviously a book club is a great idea, but we would need books. Yeah.
Yeah, true.
But there's a lot of
books in there.
That's true, yeah. I only just started learning about 9 or so months ago. Yeah, book
We're over here saying things like, we need to, you know, even the we need to understand more I don't need to try. What we are, what the most of us, we're part of this language that is not. God knows what the relationship is with their kids. We have a new guy.
What exactly is it?
Right, but see, you kind of jump like, hey, you got this good system. We're looking at
I see.
So I'm over here literally support our teachers.
The other thing I can say about the difference between maybe supporting Irish and Ireland British here in America, I don't know how familiar people would be with. I mean, a year ago, I barely knew how to spell Sláinte, and that was the only Irish name. And so I don't think being over in Ireland, like it's a part of your everyday life. Whether you kind of just, but I feel from what I've heard, it seems like kind of people block it out. Over here, yeah, I imagine. But over here, I mean, there's my stepfather didn't even know Irish was a language until a few months ago. He thought that they spoke English and always spoke English. So, and I would not be surprised if there were people with Irish heritage, Irish names that maybe didn't even know that Irish was possible. So
But that's the kind of information that we're interested in having, and like if there's an issue with the local group here, and if there's anything that we can do to help, or we have a representative from the diplomatic service here tonight, so that he can hear what the Irish government can do. No, right, Irish from the consulate. So the government, the Irish government, anything that they want to support Irish culture.
I mean,
so if there's anything that they can do, and they do have systems and schemes that not everybody knows, but they don't publicize all of the things that they do, but there are possibilities there. So these are things that's why we're here tonight to go through kind of in a systematic way. It's not a lot of time really for all the things that could be talked about, but to get people thinking and look at different possibilities for trying to solve some of these problems or make progress on them.
Things everywhere. Almost the number one thing when I should show up. But one of the teachers has been working for 10 years. Trying, nobody pays them. And no, they are not paid. They are unpaid. And the thing is, they need to go to Ireland. They really do. Why? They are hitting these higher numbers. And they need more experience.
Well, that's a very clear. That's a very clear thing to say. That's something a lot of people aren't aware of.
That's what I'm like.
It's a good one. Let's get that into the discussion.
Excellent.
Is that something that Irish government can?
That's like one of the number one things is I see them struggling. When they meet somebody who comes over as a native speaker, I'm like, why is my teacher struggling? She should be able to go to Ireland and study. She pick it up in a minute.
Great point.
And yeah, maybe even just Skype conversation. Any way to improve the quality.
I want to send them to the Gaeilge.
Okay.
I'm not kidding. Support our teachers.
There's like I taught dance for a long time, right? And it's one thing to learn how to dance, and it's another thing to learn how to dance in a way where you can effectively teach. So like the best dancer is not necessarily the best teacher.
True.
We all speak English, but I don't know if we all can teach it.
Exactly. Wow. Yes, help them. We want to help them. They've been at it for 20 years. These are people who are older. I mean, send more each. She lives on a fixed income. Send her to Ireland for a summer if she wants, for as long as she wants. Invest in her. Boom. Now that's my number one. I say support our teachers. Okay, number one. Number two, when I read how the Fulbright support, they're not planning to support me. They support all of these people who get Fulbright through all the universities, and they do it because they got it for free. They're not going to be spending. I've met so many people with these Fulbrights. They're not going to study Irish. They're over there. There was a free trip to Ireland for them. Boom, done. Why don't you support, like people who are really struggling and want to do this, like us, right? If you read the description, most of them seem to go to university. If you ask me, most of them go to university.
Like younger,
They go, and by the time we find out about it, they're all given away. They're all given away. So we could talk about the Fulbright, okay?
I'm gonna apply for this right here, yeah.
Well, yeah, good luck. When you read it, it kind of doesn't describe what you're doing.
It says it just says U.S. citizens, myself, who are Irish language learners.
Yeah.
Myself as well.
I know.
In the U.S.
Yeah. Let's get the early notification on that. Every time we get it, it's due in a week. Right. Okay? Yeah.
There's been so many efforts in Ireland supported by Irish Americans. But you know what I mean? Irish Americans helped out the old country quite a bit. This reviving language could be the next.
I have so many people that come in my store. They figure they're broke, so I try to talk to them, and they're like, nobody's.
That's the mountain language, yeah. That's what my grandpa said. My grandpa's from Derry. And I don't know how we brought it up, but I was like, does anybody even speak Irish? He's like, a few people way out in the mountains.
No, there's a little Gaeilge from
Derry. I know, but he didn't know that.
Yeah,
he had no idea.
And there's. I mean, when you find out more, there's a lot of people who speak Irish.
Like I said a year ago, the only word I had was slancher. That was it.
You picked up, William.
Thank you. I've been obsessed with it, honestly. It's been
great obsession. Yeah.
I drive my girlfriend nuts. I send her texts in Irish. I'm like, I don't speak this language. Like, I'm just practicing.
You know what? I'm a Puerto Rican, right? My Spanish is not bad. I've been working in the Puerto Rican community for 40 years. And so I got a Puerto Rican friend who goes to Ireland with me and speaks Irish.
What?
Excellent. He's a poet. He's 20 years younger than me. About 30 years.
Hey, go get after it.
No, man. You don't pick up Irish hanging out. Came to Ireland with me and studied in the Gaeilge. And they love it. It's like the first Puerto Rican they ever met. He said it's Irish. You know? Why? It's good to have somebody who can speak Irish. Like,
absolutely.
I'm like begging them to come to Ireland, I know it's going to be strange. We study Irish, but and I just went. He returns like every
Did you learn in Galway or?
I study up in Donegal.
Oh, Donegal. Okay.
Yeah.
Ulu.
What is it? What's the center called? It is good.
It is.
I'm gonna look and see what I actually
did. That's a gorgeous area. Yeah. Oh, well, it's actually just gorgeous. All of them. I mean, the Kerry one and the Diggle Peninsula. Yeah, I got friends there. Oh, gorgeous.
Awesome. I've never been to Ireland at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It'll be grand.
I'm sure, yeah, they let me in.
You might not. Where did you say your grandfather's from?
Derry. And we have family there as well. Well, he's technically not my blood, though. I call him my grandpa. My family's Irish, but he married my grandma. So it's not like I can be like, because I think of your grandpa's your blood group.
grandparents
You-
are. No, your mother as well. You can get it through your grandmother. It does not have to be maternal.
Okay. Yeah.
It does not have to be maternal. Was your grandmother born in Ireland?
No, it's all American, other than that I was raised, my grandma's husband was from Derry. And I called him grandpa. I didn't know until later. I just call him grandpa.
Might be a stretch. Might be able to pull your Irish. Might be able to pull your Irish citizenship out.
If I start speaking Irish, maybe they're like, all right, that's enough to push them over the edge.
Well, they're pretty strict, but you might be able to pull your Irish.
The Irish trick, that's the first time I've ever heard of that.
Okay, about the citizenship.
Oh,
That's when it got started.
Brussels, man, screwing everything up.
Yeah.
He needs to come.
I wouldn't mind a cup, but I don't have a mug.
You want coffee too?
Meet ya.
Beer and coffee. Beer over coffee.
Take your time if you wouldn't mind, please.
Hey, man.
Oh, absolutely.
I snuck it late. Oh, I was Jason.
I might just look in with you while we work today, but you can take it with you.
Yeah. Well, every, the different GA province. The way that
Calculor. So, Group of Hain.
Group of Hain. Okay.
So, Group of Hain. An féidir libse leabhart faoi na rudaí a fuair amach, agus na rudaí a bhí arólas agus hana hain a chuir sibh leis an tolas sin. Would you talk for your?
Can we all gather?
Okay.
Come back. No, no. Come back and be surprised. But that's fine.
Don't spot and show. You can come over here, there's loads of space. I'm not going to be sitting down anyway, so. So, Group of Hain. Cétá chun an tolas a chuir d'áthair.
Nosy, but an céad gabadol no agrio structure and push the committee structure. So this is sort of speaking to a large, seemingly to a large, well-organized group, which.
Or how to organize, how to become a large organized group.
It's broken down into various positions, and then it puts a bunch of necessary. It's I think it's most valuable as a list of tasks or roles that eventually will be necessary, stuff that you either need to do now or you're eventually going to be wanting to do as you get as things develop more. But all that stuff is organized under a bunch of titles, and organizations always find their way to shuffle the jobs around. But so to us, in our nascent state, to us it's more a list of jobs and tasks as opposed to positions.
Okay.
Because jobs work. There's always work to do. There isn't always a community. So that's one thing that we noticed. There are far too many details, far too many individual aspects of each position to go through them all out loud.
Yeah. What are the main things though that you concluded from reading that list?
We don't have enough people.
We don't have enough people. Okay, just one remark I would make about that list. That's based very much on the kind of classic structure of a branch of Conradh na Gaeilge, for example. That's kind of the starting point for us looking at that kind of thing. But of course, many branches of Conradh na Gaeilge operate slightly differently from that, and some of them radically differently from that. That's just kind of the classic, the template, in a sense, for that kind of organization.
What section is that?
That's the first section, committee structure, structure and chuiste. And that would be on page, it's on page 6. the number on page 6 is missing, so it's the page before page 7. If you're looking for it. So obviously, a group that's starting off wouldn't function in that way, but it's a structure or template you can work towards. And one of the advantages of that type of structure is that that kind of structure is recognized by bodies who provide funding for groups who are operating like that. So if you're looking for funding for your activities, there are certain boxes you have to tick, and a clear structure with a clear division of responsibilities will be one of those boxes that you would need to tick. So that's why that's laid out in that way. And it's not something that you have to do, but it's something that you can aim towards. And it's a clear list of positions and tasks assigned to those positions that you can look at for the future.
And so how is this sort of formalized or made official for those bodies that would provide funding? I mean, do you have to go through, I know in the US there might be a tax structure you have to go through or anything like that. Is there anything?
Well, if you were, obviously you're talking about 501c3 kind of structure. Yeah, and that's obviously a whole different level again. Right. But it's not a bad thing to keep in mind when you're starting off that you might eventually get to that point, and that you can get used to working in that kind of structure from the beginning. But I think Ragnar would have more information on this, but is that something that has to be certified in some way? Or does it just have to be, you have to demonstrate?
Yeah, it's more like structural capacity to organise events and to account for, if you're applying for public funding from the Irish government, whether it's indirectly through organisations like Cornwall or directly through our departments. Yeah, it ultimately comes down to the exchequer, taxpayer, Irish taxpayer money. So there has to be some accountability framework for, and this is like the good governance 101, I suppose, for any voluntary organisation or community organisation, pretty much on any scale. The idea that being the chairperson, someone's direct, someone to take account of the meetings when decisions are taken, and then someone who's responsible as a financial officer for ensuring that monies that are taken in through grants or whatever other forms are spent for purposes for allocating. So that's the
Sorry.
Like you said, this is just like this sort of very outlined template, and you wouldn't necessarily have this in the embryonic stages of an organization anyway, but it just helps give a sort of guiding structure to what you might be looking to achieve.
Yeah, it's something to aspire to rather than a precondition for starting off your work, and it's laid as we were saying, it's laid out for that reason in that way. So don't be intimidated by it, and you certainly don't have to be doing that on day one of your Conradh first Irish class. It does not have to be like that, but it's something you can be looking at doing in the medium to long term.
Yeah. The one thing I'd say, I mean, we discussed it in our group a little bit, we'll be back in a minute. Like, obviously, one of the great advantages here in Chicago in particular and across the Midwest is that there are so many fantastic Irish community organizations here. I mean, in this city alone, like we have one hand the Irish American Heritage Center in Gaeilge Park, and there's a plethora of others as well. Most of them would have this structure, or sometimes much more elaborate and wider ranging ones in place. And in some cases, it might be possible to kind of, develop an Irish language promotional sort of strand to work that's already taking place in those institutions and sort of work directly with them and collaborate with them, as opposed to necessarily having to establish something self-standing and independent from them, because as well to make advantage of the resources that are out there.
And Wilain rud eile le curagah leis an play a hánig a dascar as an play a bhí agah. Is there anything else?
The script group, the people that you're aiming at, and we remind ourselves that we have gaps. And like Kelly and Lisa and I were the ones who were together, so we're sort of the people who are helping to keep the Irish teaching organization going, right? And so when I say we haven't been delegating really, and haven't been bringing in help from other people. So that was important. So that's what. So unfortunately, pretty much people at that table. But there are gaps as far as people that we're in touch with. And we thought, well, we should maybe try and bring all the, as they say, stakeholders together.
Yeah.
And get opinions from them.
Who are the people that you feel you're not really in touch? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, who are the stakeholders?
Well, anybody who is or could be involved or
in the bio.
Yeah, and the thing one, Irish people. We don't have a lot of involvement with Irish people.
Yeah.
And say nothing.
Irish people are awful difficult, right?
They hear class and they run the other way.
And then much of the Gael talk with you.
Yeah.
Say nothing of people who have Irish as a first language. So
But one,
that we're just used to dealing with ourselves.
Yeah.
and the thing too, and I'm speaking from, I'm so focused on, weekly classes that it's like, oh, wouldn't it be like actually a meeting like this? Some of the students showed up that are interested in doing above and beyond the weekly class things. So thank you, Dalty, very much, because this is, and so maybe when the next time you're around, no, we won't, put it all on you, but to have more of kind of an assembly thing, because we have classes on Saturday, classes on Wednesday, and rarely the twain meet. Because the Wednesdays that come on Wednesday and the Saturdays on Saturdays, and
you can get so busy with the actual day-to-day running of things.
Right. So having like an assembly and
So I wasn't in this group, but the two things that I'm thinking of as you're talking about all these are, Conradh Gaeilge, I'm used to thinking of it as an organization that operates in a remote, a restrained physical area, a small geographical area. And yet we represent here in this room people across a fairly large area. Admittedly, it's still, but for those of us not on the phone, it's still the greater Chicago area. But is it interesting, possible, useful to have some sort of organizing that spans this larger space, this larger area than than the south side folks, the north side folks, the Milwaukee folks, the Bloomington folks. I'm not the Madison folks. Not sure exactly, and so I'm being sort of vague there. But
I think that's a decision for people who know the area to make.
And the other, I like very much the suggestion of working with the organizations you've already got, and you hope that the organizations that you've already got to work with are smoothly functioning and not subject to the winds of change every little bit, and yet some of them are. And so it's sometimes that nice situation presents itself, but other times things that look like a lot of the obvious marriages don't happen.
Yeah.
Did I say that diplomatically enough?
Well said. Well said.
Yeah. But is there anything?
Thank goodness we're on an upswing
Is
right
there
now.
anything to be said for organizing?
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, there's opportunity cost with everything. Like that's the thing. What you gain is just some additional structure, and then maybe a broader organization in terms of people that you can engage with.
As like a starting thing with Chicago, I think that we should have a overall like group instead of maybe something that's above the two clubs. It's pretty much just the two clubs here in Chicago. That starting point, and, the people, the parties concerned.
Yeah.
Very interesting. It's an interesting idea to have it separate from the two strong structures in Chicago. There are really strong structures in Milwaukee, Madison, Bloomington.
Well, and so Devin, who's on Skype, has tried to compile on Facebook a page that lists, opportunities or occurrences or events or classes that are going on in the Midwest region,
right?
Which has been great. But I do think I feel like everyone's operating in a bit of a silo, and so there's no sharing of lessons plans. There's no sharing of, looking back and what we learned last year and what we could do different this year. And there's a great opportunity for those parties to meet and share information, because I think it could grow faster and wiser if we were all sharing what we learned and so we didn't repeat mistakes. But I'm just not sure.
I think it's important to emphasize you wouldn't have to give up independence. That's all. I mean, if you control everything democratically, and it's all stuff that you're inputting into it, you're all inputting into the decision-making process, then it all depends on what you want and how you run things. And you can keep it as simple as simply having a meeting once or twice a year, where you all discuss in that greater context how things are going for the Irish language in the larger area, and how things have gone throughout the year, and what you might do, and set some goals for the next year or two. Or you can set up some kind of formalized structure which organizes things on a more regular basis. That's completely up to you, and you run it, you control it. But I think there is something to be said for working together, bringing larger geographical areas into some kind of cooperative arrangement. But I think that's something for you guys to think about, and then be in touch with each other about that and see what you do in a few months' time. Okay, in Rodella?
I'll blitz through a couple of notes so we can get on to the next interesting topic. But we're trying to remind ourselves that it's not your ability with Irish that needed to look at when trying to find people to do more, be more involved. It's people's willingness and ability to do things. That's really all it takes. Even somebody's never going to be the best Irish speaker. It doesn't really matter the organization speaking. And so we're trying to remind ourselves of that more often. Let's see, one thing that you talked about the material here is an idealized structure. We just point out that in the U.S., organizations tend to be very small. Talking the way on option eshkot. More eshkot. So Birch through and lean dean options. And I'll get there and look Iowa.
Neil Marie Chin. I thought it was Neil Agnagamur. It's near Marie Chin.
Yeah. So what else have we got here? Delegating. You have to involve in something you have to develop. It's not something that you discover. Pinch diamonds. And we thought, well, you need to develop involvement before you need it. The last minute is not the time to be involved.
To ask for the extra effort. That's true. I think that's something that's important for us to do at home as well.
Each of us, the three of us, Gaeilge and Lisa and I, were all sitting at that table saying, and I never thought I'd be teaching Irish. Right. It's actually up in Jonah place. So there is no professional cadre of teachers, just as an example, and we never thought we would have to do this. Ended up shouldering an enormous amount of burden, at least notionally, because of the death of the biggest key player. So it's kind of working out, but these are not, like, at least for organizations like ours, or communities like ours, communities like ours, these are often these people for whom it just sort of happens. Is that we're not
Some point on top of
I just want to point something out. In Chicago, there's not one university that teaches Irish. This is important. You are looking at people who volunteer their time. I'm talking about the teachers for 20 years. These people, because their teacher died, and they decided we're going to try and keep this going. All right. And so we don't have any universities. A lot of the things that go on have other types of support. this is really like the sweat and blood of our teachers. And I'll just say something real simple from our group, okay, which was, whatever page it was, but basically how can, what you're looking at was really put together by the hard work of the group of teachers that you're looking at here.
Yeah.
And what happened this year, what due to some extra outreach efforts, et cetera, all of a sudden there was like triple or quadruple the interest walked in the door. And they were like swamped with, oh my gosh, we need to copy all of this stuff, all of this extra, like, holy cow, we gotta register how many hundred people, whatever it was. Order more textbooks. Or, whatever. But there was a substantive growth and interest. And so we're seeing some of that among the students here. But my greatest concern, or something that we talked about, is how can we get support, is we would like to see our teachers supported right now. You are looking at people who are not young, all right? And not
at this table.
It's after my bedtime, so I
I get to say this.
Yeah, right.
Because I'm old enough to retire. I'm just not, all right? Because at any rate, but what I'm saying is, we are looking at people who are on fixed incomes. We're looking at people who have jobs, etc. And so, how do you support them? One of the things I would like to see is, I would like to see arrangements made to support our teachers to go to Ireland, spend time studying the Gaeltacht, and I will tell you why. They don't have the money to do this. I'm just saying, they go whatever. But here's what happens when people who are native Irish speakers come, they have all this extra language and whatever, and it hurts me to see my own teachers not able to go and pick up this stuff that they would pick up in a minute and a half if they were able to spend weeks there. And this is the number one thing that I think I would like to ask, even, right here, if our consulate might be able to help with this, to send our teachers to the Gaeltacht to study so that they can have that more advanced level while the rest of us are trying to come up. And there are teachers, their teacher died years and years ago, okay? And they're just picking this up. So let's keep, it's like the airbag's coming down, put it over the teachers first. I'm just saying.
No, and that's very eloquently put.
Send her back to Galway. Send her
Easy Trump. Oh.
So, but I think there are a number of really important questions being asked there. So is there some kind of system available for teachers of Irish in the United States to upskill? Yeah, and how?
But that's the Fulbright thing, right?
Yeah. You get to do it once.
I think you're talking about something above that, above and beyond that.
Okay.
More support.
More support.
Not just apply and see if maybe you get a position.
Well, that's definitely something that we can put into kind of our lobbying program. So one of the things that we can start to put more pressure on the Irish government to do. But you can also lobby locally and see how you get on with that.
My father is someone who learned Irish in Sweden and was a huge proponent of the Irish language. Like in Ireland, my mother is an Irish language writer, so a novelist and short story writer. They'd be happy to share any of her work with all of you. And I came from Irish language schools myself, so it'd be a big proponent supporter of Irish. There is no single facility available, unfortunately, to fund that at present within our system. And this is the reality. We operate within constraints imposed by public funding that we have. All of our money is obviously provided from the Irish Exchequer, so it's Irish taxpayers who fund that. So there are supports and services for Irish studies programs internationally, including here in the US. And there would be funds through, not directly our Department of Foreign Affairs, but through Departments of Art, Heritage and Gaeltacht and others that would go to supporting institutions in Notre Dame, for instance, and other universities here across the Midwest.
Right. These mainly go to universities, though. And who gets these Fulbrights? All these university students who are like 22 years old who picked going to Ireland because it seemed easy. They have no plans really to like continue speaking Irish. They're over there spending. I'm
Young
sorry.
people deserve that engagement as well.
Yeah, but what we're really talking about is not, we're not talking about taking something away from somebody. We're talking about how to enrich that particular environment and how to increase that support, rather than, you know, let's make some choices. That wouldn't be very pleasant. So certainly, I'll certainly take that back to Ireland as something that we can try to make a stronger case for, because it's just not something that was on our radar at all. We thought that we saw that there were supports available, and we never really heard that they weren't adequate or that they weren't being accessed. So it's something we will push harder for in the future. And is there something to be said for trying to bring some of that expertise to you more often as well? I mean, whichever, I don't know which works out more cheaply financially, or what's more sustainable.
Well, I mean, sure, any help is good help, probably.
Yeah.
But you know, are we ready to move on to?
Yeah.
May I say something real quick?
Sure.
Is that
Okay, yeah.
Just real quick, I just want to say, through the lens of what we were given, social events, having this foundation of a committee, a strong committee. For example, one thing is guest speakers. If we have like a committee that's almost an antenna out there to Ireland, to, okay, hey, you know, you're going to be in Chicago, or could you, we know this one committee is, it's like a direct connection almost. So it makes everything else kind of easier if we have like a strong committee.
And communications are so much easier in the modern world with social media and so on. You really don't have to spend money to bring people to you. No. People kind of drift through the area. It's a matter of casting your nets in the right place and just ask them to do a little bit extra. Yeah, she's in Notre Dame.
She's at Notre Dame.
And I'm sure she'd be delighted to come and work with you for a while. Yeah.
So they can go travel.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one thing that's just saying the richness and the level of engagement across the Midwest here, like as someone who's come here pretty recently, just in August, like it's really impressive. And there is so much happening already. It's quite widely dispersed, and I suppose the level of mutual awareness is not always there. Like one of my great heroes, Cuan, an Irish author, is reading in Notre Dame on Friday. If I'd known about that, as I would have liked to, like a couple of months ago, we could have arranged to do something in Chicago or down at the University of Illinois or somewhere elsewhere. But that's the challenge, I guess, is to have to be as networks as possible at the outset.
And something as simple as, I mean, I don't know if the consulate gathers information itself about what's going on in the area and then redistributes that into the different networks out there. Or it wouldn't have to be the consulate. Some other person might be able to do that very effectively. But that would help people to notice when things were coming up weeks and months in advance.
Yeah.
Barbara, what doing Shin?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
I just think I'm amused that it was through Mike and Karen I discovered you were going to be here.
Yes. And that's really through Brian.
I sat with Rinna Gaeilge in my post. We had an event, conference here in Milwaukee a year and a half ago. That it was like trying to get money out of a stone, trying to get Rinna Gaeilge to fund what we talked about, what you guys are talking about there, having kind of an upskilling of the teachers and people involved on a voluntary basis here.
Yeah.
So eventually I got money from them, we had the cohort, and then in my post, my recap of it, I sat in Rinna Gaeilge's office a year and a half ago and said, guys, if anybody is coming towards the Midwest, just let us know, we make it happen.
Yeah.
But I discovered you were coming through Mike and Karen.
Yeah.
So there's obviously some bad disconnect going there because Fulbright has got a list of us, Rinna Gaeilge has got a list of us. So, fair play to Conradh to be the one that actually reaches out.
And it's through Brian O'Croher. So Notre Dame seems to play a very strong role in the network in this area because there's a lot of traffic through Notre Dame in both directions. Yeah. And Brian suggested I talk to you guys. So that's really how that happened. Yeah. So Brian is a brilliant person for connecting people. Brian, I know last year I was working mostly the job I have with Conradh is mostly to do with the historical side of the organization, archiving and I was curating our 2016 our Easter Rising commemoration program. So there were some events held in the States, and it was Brian really who linked me up with the people who helped me organize things over here. And without Brian's help, that year wouldn't have been successful, and without Brian's help, this event probably wouldn't be happening. So it really shows how these networks, such as they exist, are very important, and it's important to try and extend and build on them. And I think perhaps that's one of the most immediate things we can act on this evening, is to figure out some kind of information distribution structure that's independent of Runda Gaeltacht, because I think we're learning too in our own work that we can't always depend on Runda Gaeltacht to act in a timely fashion on a lot of issues. That's outside the scope of this particular discussion. But I think if you create that yourselves, or you coordinate that with the consulate in some way, I think that could be a very effective tool.
Is there, I'm guessing the answer is no, but is there any sort of centralized directory that's kept track of schools, organizations, or anything that is Irish language run?
Well, we could certainly, we could try to do that. We have a website like that for Ireland. So we should just really start to register groups internationally on that in a more systematic
I think
way.
that would be a way, even for groups, like if we were here and we didn't know the North Side existed, it would be a way for us to be able to see that and interact.
Okay, so I'll talk to the people at home too about extending that for international things. I think it's working
You could get
up
a lot
to
of
a point.
info on that from the FLPAs.
Yeah, true, yeah.
So
Good, okay. All right.
And yeah, we're in the process of just trying to change these structures in consul at the moment. Yeah, and we've been very short staffed. We've been new consul general starting in a few weeks' time, so we'll be up to 2 diplomats in the office from that point on. But we're trying to put together a new structure for information sharing through the newsletter and social media and so on. So one reasonably good thing we have at the moment is our Twitter feed, but the Facebook page, and particularly sort of probably bi-monthly newsletter covering cultural events across the Midwest, right, over the next kind of 6 to 8 weeks is going to be something we'll have in place from beginning of 2017. So, I mean, I'm happy to give my cards to anyone who hasn't got them already, and you can fire me an email, we can add you to mailing lists, etc. You're always welcome to get in touch with me with any ideas or the things that you want to run by me or propose or whatever else. With your best to be supported within the
I'd be very sorry that you offered that.
You know, thank you. That'll be just great. And so just, you know, since there's so many different types of Irish events going on, fortunately, if it would be possible to just find some way to make the language events clear.
Yeah.
You know, so that, you know, a whole little area.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Very specific.
Barbara and her colleagues in Milwaukee already kind of do promote that with a good deal as it stands. So, I mean, we, as much as anything, I think just looking to draw together some of the information sources that already exist and kind of compile them on a cross basis.
Yeah.
But, there'd be no problem.
I mean, you were talking about Devon's group and list on Facebook. Is there anything to be said for something as simple as a group on Facebook where you all register things and then somebody compiles a kind of a master list? Or,
that could be used as is.
Yeah.
Actually, there are two. There's one smaller group for event organizers, but that's probably not what we're talking about here. There's the Gaeilge and Gaeilge through the Facebook. That if all you need to do is throw a sentence out there, it'd be like tweeting. Throw a sentence out there about, I write down every event, every visitor.
Yeah. Okay, good. I think we could actually spend even more time discussing this point, but we have already spent a lot of time on it, so we'll move on to another topic, perhaps. What were Group 2 discussing? You were discussing action plans, Planning Kneve. Who was in Group 2? Yeah? Okay, so what would you like to tell us about that?
Well, in looking at profiling the area and who's involved, our general consensus is that we don't really have enough information.
Okay.
We know ourselves, we know the different main groups in Milwaukee and Bloomington, and but we don't really know who is out there that might speak Irish, that might be interested in having their children learn Irish. So we think that more research would have to be done. One of the ideas was to find out who the great list of all the Irish organizations in Chicago and try and reach out to them, or just let them know that we exist, see if we can build our group, build our language group. Of course, once we build the group, I mean, what do we have now? 70 maybe in our group in Chicago? If we double it, we're going to be hurting for teachers. So that's something we really need to think about. Actually, before we go out and a much larger group. There are people that we don't know about.
No, we don't keep records of the Irish people who are coming in. Like there's no, we're not.
But you might. Okay, so you have a newsletter, a cultural newsletter that you distribute. Who does it go to? Who does your cultural newsletter go to?
No, we
must
have
have
people who
outreach.
register, all right, and we do have people who apply for passports. So when people apply for services at the consulate, we offer them the opportunity if they wish to register. But we can't, it's up to them.
No, of course.
And so on. Yeah, but yeah,
But
I think that mostly this comes back again just the information dissemination, and an awareness, about the level of organizations. And I mean, I wouldn't, and I found out about this event as well. Today's like Tuesday, yesterday, I suppose, or maybe it was last week. So I think it's fantastic that it's happening. But often, unfortunately, in a concert with 5 staff covering 20 states, I think we estimated 17 million people who claim Irish ancestry across the states we cover. So that's a lot, even to get on with just passport processing and visas and other things. That's 95% of our capacity right there. So what else we can offer, and we would look to be supportive on cultural engagement and so on. I mean, I think if there's stronger information sharing across the networks of organizations that exist already, that will sort of happen as a process, naturally, sort of almost.
I agree with you. Those are people who already have an interest in their culture and, the Irish Fellowship Club, and there are a lot of different organizations.
And we do have a role, I think, as a sort of connector between all those organizations. I'm conscious there's a lot of, again, speaking diplomatically, political kind of local politics, whether it's between the North and the South or within the individual institutions even. So, our kind of stance is a bit beyond that insofar as I think all these organizations and very much us, we're about promoting Ireland in all its kind of aspects, and language, both personally and professionally, is an important kind of remit or element of that kind of promotion. So,
Anything else?
Do you guys live on the north side? Is that...
I live on both, so I have a house. No.
Madison Avenue.
We just want to snag your wife.
We're in the side. We're in the side field, but we support the kids. So
that's fine.
Okay.
I will say, I mean, I've taken Italian and German classes in Chicago, and they're supported by their consulate.
But that's because their consulates are substantially higher funded than ours.
And the Spanish do that as well. So I'm just saying, as a model, as maybe your 10 to 15 year plan or something, looking forward to see if we can get more support.
Well, one of the things I will point out is that almost every other language that's taught here in the city, I mean, the Instituto Cervantes, Alemães Franceses, they charge a lot of money for their classes, and they're college classes. The thing that we offer that's not offered by almost any is that it's reasonably priced. I mean, we're not, people can come in and learn, and it's not determined by how much money you make. And that changes the game plan when you have money to work with, because you have students paying $300, $400, $500 to learn. It determines, what ways you choose to teach the students, etc. And being able to pay teachers, that's something that we are kind of trying to figure out for ourselves in our group is how do we give the services that we need for our students? So, but we offer something unique.
Was there anything? Yeah.
I like the way the classes are at the Heritage Center, and from what I've seen at Daily Park as well, where there's a lot of interaction. You know, I'm not the type of learner who likes the college lecture hall of 500 people and just hearing somebody. I like the fact that we can interact with each other and that you make friends at your Irish language class as opposed to the feeling of just being in a lecture hall and going home and having to study.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's positives and there's drawbacks. I mean, yeah, we don't bring in much money, but at the same time,
but nobody's talking about creating a language teaching empire here. This is about a community that exists and how to build that.
Right. But yeah, that's because the big thing is to actually continue to speak it with people. And if you do it in the sense of college lecture hall, then it feels more like a task, and you feel like when you're not there, then you're not really interacting with people. Whereas at places like the Heritage Center and Gaeilge Park, it's like you're interacting with friends, and those are the type of people you want to call up and speak in Irish or talk in Irish on Facebook or whatever, or emails.
Go to events, meet up at events, like go to the Irish language film.
Was there anything else in that section that you thought was interesting or could be improved on or needs to be mentioned in this?
Well, I
larger
think
group?
one other kind of thing was sparked by us thinking about profiling is not only are you looking for other learners, you're looking for people who have skills in one way or another, or just want to maybe donate, or all sorts of outreach with the profiling, knowing who's out there, and therefore, if they know that we are here, they might be more inspired to get involved, because I know that there's a lot of Irish speakers in Chicago. None of them come to our classes.
Well,
So
they're
somehow
speakers,
to bridge that divide between us and them.
How can you create stronger?
That would be great to have outreach to them, because whenever somebody shows up who's an Irish speaker, it's always great. They sit in our classes. It's just lovely. So that is
How do you think they feel in that context?
They seem to enjoy it very much. That here's this group of people, speaking Irish, and they're pulling out all these crazy new words we haven't heard of, about how like technology words that they're, blogs and podcasts and all of this. It's always a wonderful interchange. They seem like
it's fantastic.
Yeah. And is there any way that can be increased, or that outreach can be extended, or the outreach can be more effective?
And cash forward. It certainly hasn't happened by itself.
I think it needs to be less of a class structure then. It needs to be like a social thing. It was nice that we ran, but I thought
the idea that it's not like a college class is what makes it.
I mean, why would a native speaker turn up for a class?
In Shannon on the south side, it's got Ekin to the Gaeilge, just Marty Callahan's or whatever place it is. And there's more or less Irish spoken there, depending on what people feel like, but it is definitely something outside of the classroom structure. And if we're just talking about having Irish classes, that's fine. That's what we do now. But if it's really talking about being a community of people learning and supporting and developing Irish, there's more to it.
Have you seen this new thing that's started recently in Dublin, and I think they're going to do one in New York soon, where they just choose a different pub every month. They call it the pop-up Gaeilge. They choose it's not a pub crawl because you stay in one place.
It's not,
So technically, it's not a crawl. Basically, they select a different place, and obviously they have a chat with the owner beforehand and everything, and they put up signs and things, and it basically becomes their venue for the night. And it's a way of getting to know the city. And maybe bringing Southsiders and Northsiders together in neutral zones or in each other's territory. But it's a way of keeping things interesting too. And sometimes with social events, sometimes they're just a little bit too far away from somebody, so you can take that into consideration when you're planning one of the events, and you move around and see if you can hoover up some of the speakers who are in the area. And if you have an enjoyable evening, maybe they'll make an extra effort to attend things that are a little bit more difficult to get to in the future. Yeah. Anything else on that list, or any other ideas? Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, just on the getting native speakers for people who are learning. The thing that popped into my head with the GAT clubs, you have a lot of young fellas coming over in the summer. A lot of young fellas, a lot of them wouldn't speak fluent Irish, but they went through the system.
Yeah.
So they would know more than most people in the room.
Yeah.
And then you have the Conradh, the Corral up the road. Which go in there every Saturday night. It's packed with people.
What's it called? Sorry.
The Corral.
The Corral.
The Corral. Right? They're in there speaking Irish. They don't know we exist. They don't really care. If you went in and pitched it the right way, you're going to get one of them down. They're going to be interested. Maybe get a pitch.
Especially if you tell them you're going to buy a pint.
Yeah.
You know, throw in the free night, you know?
Well, yeah, possibly. That would be more for the young fellas.
You know that the GAA, like the GAA as an organisation, is committed to supporting the Irish language. It's one of their goals as an organisation. It's obviously not the main goal, but every single GAA club is supposed to have an Irish language officer who's supposed to be promoting the use of the language within the club. So if you find out who those people are in this area, or if they exist, or you encourage the club, if such a person does not exist, to select such a person, that can be somebody who can be very useful to, and also to make facilities available, because the GAA is really supposed to help out with facilities and things like that. Obviously, you've had that experience in Gaelic Park, but there may be other venues too in the city that might become accessible through approaching them in that way. And the president of the GAA at the moment, Egon O'Farrell, is a fluent Irish speaker and is very supportive of the Irish language, and the office that he heads is also very supportive of the Irish language. So there's definitely a space there that you can try to work with if you haven't already.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, I was finished.
But as far as the kind of actions and other organizations that are around, maybe after maybe when we're done here, we can. In the after party, we can sort of take a census of who's got contacts in what organization, like at the hall or the GAA. Who knows whom? But
that's a good idea.
We don't need to spend that time.
Yeah. Okay, we'll do that in the after party. Okay, anything else on that topic before we move on? Okay, next topic, group number 3. Who's in group number 3?
We are.
You were the party crowd, the social events organizers.
Yes.
Okay. So, no, we'll come back to education, right? Group 4 and education.
I took some notes I can say them real quick, and then you want me to do that? Yeah, sorry.
Absolutely.
Well, concerning events, we thought, and we were always thinking we heard the part about how can we help you? So the number one thing we thought was find some way to support our teachers, even though it's not, on the list, but support our teachers.
That message has come through very loud.
Other than that, gosh, it would be great to have DVD packages of some of those films. Everybody actually can't use the internet and get stuff streaming.
Isn't there a technical issue with DVDs? North American DVD players play different types.
Yes.
So there may be an issue with some of the Irish language DVDs produced are not actually being compatible with the equipment here. It can't be. Okay. Is that something you're willing to discuss while being recorded, or is that something that will be talked about in the after party?
No,
we can.
For $30, the prize, we got a dedicated external DVD drive.
Okay.
And I labeled it Region 2, and it only gets used to play Region.
Perfect.
So
Okay.
excellent.
$30 is not exactly a massive amount of money.
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's not.
Okay.
And because we were talking about having film nights, watching those Irish language programs, and then we can all talk about it afterwards. They're really good. Mr. Shoiga was recently just such a big hit. Film, so like some DVDs, that would be nice. music, some hard copies of stuff. We were talking about even we could have sing-along, we could organize sing-alongs, which are different from performances where, you bring your copies of the lyrics, sing your song, and let's all sing together. Books, got some sets of books to share with us that we could read, like even some of the stuff you did to elementary schoolers. It's kind of like our level, but, we could look at all the mysteries and stuff, the low level.
Again, that's something to bear in mind. Obviously, it's very expensive to send things in the post from Ireland, but there are always people moving back and forth, and some people can bring 4 or 5 books. It's not a problem. And I'm sure some of the people transiting through Notre Dame, anytime I come to the States, I bring books for people that they've asked me beforehand. And so something to bear in mind. Use the networks that are already there to bring things.
And just one other thing that we discussed is that right here, what we're looking at are people who are part of, these language. Here it's like part of this language school called Gaeilge. And just, we're located at the Irish Heritage Center. We're distinct. And yet we talked about, even on our end, we might want to try to make efforts to strengthen that relationship. I've always wanted to see them value the language aspect more. And I think there are ways to do that by communicating. You don't always see them highlighting that the language classes here in a way that is as strong as I wish they would. And seeing that language events are included in the different things that go on in some of the regular events.
I think that's a very important point. So increasing the visibility of the Irish language in the centres where other activities are taking place.
Yes, and the bond, whatever support there is, to strengthen that bond of their valuing what goes on, the language and the language aspects. And, again, I haven't been to, I'm not able to drive that far, but to go, the stuff I see you guys doing looks just so wonderful, at Gaelic Park, so I'm not.
But it's true, like even we were just saying, like we could leverage Gaelic Park much more than we do. We've asked them to put us on their calendar. They will not put non-Gaelic Park sponsored items on their calendars or on their website. So for the cultural events like the Irish dance schools and everything, they can't favor one over the other. But we're the only language school.
But the GAA is not committed to supporting Irish dancing or Irish music, but it is committed to supporting the Irish language. So that's a space for you to use. So you need to use that space. And there's a cultural officer, there's an Irish language officer supposed to be attached to every club. Not every single club appoints one, but according to the rules of the GAA, that's something that should be going on. And that's something. And if you're not happy with what's happening at a local level, you can talk to a higher level in the GAA structure, and you will get support there.
No, that's great because it is just leveraging for exposure. It's really what it is.
It's just a matter of getting. I mean, you're not even asking for money. You're just asking to have your information distributed through their network. Okay.
Okay.
Similarly,
Ryan and Jordan were going to pick up. Just one last thing. Do we need a copy machine? I'm just saying.
Well, similar. I know that myself. I don't own a vehicle, and it's very difficult for me to get anywhere that doesn't have CTA lines. I'm very cheap as well, so I'm not too keen to pay. Yeah, well, thank you. But so that could be a bit of cooperation. Is perhaps like a van or some transportation between north side. Yeah, because I a year ago, less than a year ago, the only Irish word I had was sláinte. You know what I mean? And so, when I was studying places to pick up the language, the South Side classes were out of my reach because CTA doesn't go there. And so that could be another thing. Is it's mentioned in here, a lot of logistics, such as, region-specific DVD players, perhaps transportation to certain regions, perhaps going to Notre Dame. Perhaps we could find some way to go there. I've never been, but logistics.
No, I'm in the same boat you are.
Absolutely.
So
Making
it
these things,
actually is a real concern. For
absolutely.
I think something.
Like a how to.
Do we have some goodies?
Yeah. The Negan or Skype, Gary with Negan raw. I'll take that as no. Neil, okay. I'll talk to Fos and Shin. What do Fos and Shin about real? No, you thought I'm good.
Well,
okay, go on.
To go on and other things, I think Irish Americans are often reminded that we don't really know everything about Irish people, and I think that the reverse can be said in some ways. That sometimes
it should be said because it's also true.
Well, sometimes people from Ireland sometimes do have a difficulty understanding what the difficulties Irish Americans face. Like I said, a year ago, I didn't know anything other than Sláinte. You know, my stepfather, till months ago, till he found out I was learning Irish, he didn't even know Irish was a language.
Yeah.
Which I think it's quite difficult for somebody from Ireland to go through life not knowing that there's this other language. But we have the events that we could have would have, you know, we can't just have every event as one size fits all. We need events to bring in new members, and we have to be conscious that these people may not even know Irish as a language, and if they do, may have literally couple of fuckle, that's it. But then again, we also need to have events that can reinforce the connections we already have.
Yeah.
For example, why would a native speaker want to go to Conradh night? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you know what I mean? Like things like that.
I like the branding. I like the branding for that.
You know what I mean? Like I would be bored out of my gourd if I had to go. You know what I mean?
You've never played strip Conradh.
Is it that obvious? But, for specific events, like it could be, as if you may not know, all the streets in Monopoly are named after streets in Atlantic City, New Jersey. May be fun to have a night where maybe it's a Monopoly ripoff and all the streets are from Balaclea or.
Yeah, there's a version of Monopoly.
I'm sure there is. Yeah, if I thought of it, I'm sure somebody else. But lots of stuff, and this is where having a sound committee, what was the word that a committee structure comes in is, you know, hey, here really have to hold people's hands, because I think that the person today that maybe the most they can contribute is perhaps cooking up corned beef. You know, 2 years from now, they may be the ones helping the new people, you know, at Conradh night. You know what I mean?
And through this kind of engagement, two people will discover skills that they may not have realized they had, and and they improve skills that they didn't know they had.
Sure.
So a lot of good points there. I think it's really important to meet each other too, and to visit other groups and visit other places, because you kind of reinforce each other with that. My experience of traveling around different places over the last year, where some kind of activity relating to the Irish language is taking place, has really opened my eyes to a lot of things I didn't realize were going on, and also has made me feel much more comfortable actually about the position of the Irish language today. There's a kind of always an existential thing going on in Ireland, always in relation to the language. But when you travel to places like Notre Dame and you see on one level there's this, you know, this private university which is operating in this extreme kind of almost stratospheric academic level, and then you have a group such as yourselves and the work you're doing, which is really inspiring, and there's no money involved. It's all something that you all just want to do and you're all really interested and involved in, and this is something that's really difficult for somebody in Ireland to imagine is going on in a place that to them is so far away. And when you visit each other and you see what you're all doing, you all reinforce the commitment you have to what you're doing, and you all inspire each other, and you give each other more energy to continue with the work that you are doing. So I think it's a really good idea to do that. And I do think you should think about going down to Notre Dame, because I think you could teach them a thing or two, and they could teach you probably one thing, maybe, or maybe two, but you could definitely teach them more, I think, than they can teach you. And it's worth thinking about. Anything else in that category? Jason?
Well, I mean, I had talked to one of the people who takes classes on the south side, Heather, about trying to work something to get the north and the south side to meet up. You know, maybe somewhere in the loop would be a good halfway spot, but somewhere with public transportation, easily available, because it would be good to get together. You know, have those two groups get together and socialize. And
the times we have has been very successful. I think it's been really great for our students and your students to meet and
Yeah.
have a night together. It's a social event. I mean, I think the first night we had Conradh brothers. I think were kind of infamous that night as well. But just being able to talk Irish history, language, it was just a whole scope of.
Yeah, the immersion weekend was great. I really loved that. I was so sad to see it not happen this year.
We're going to try to do it again next year.
Okay.
We had to have this year off to be able to figure out what we were.
Enough teachers.
We didn't have enough teachers. And
of course.
So again, going back to, and I didn't want to bring it up at the time, but no, I'm going to. So, in terms of getting resources or having those available, if we know in advance that we are having an immersion weekend, we were tapping, her family from Ireland that were teachers and trying to time it with when they were coming out. But if there's availability or resources that could be utilized for that, or that we could potentially look into, they're going to be in the area, can we use them for a day?
Exactly, yeah. I think if the communications are functioning more effectively, opportunities will be spotted earlier. And you will find that things will be possible that just don't work when they're requested at the last minute.
Right.
And I'm not making any specific commitment there, but
no, yeah.
For example, if I happen to be in the area or somebody who's employed with Conradh or works or is involved with Conradh who's in the area, I'm sure they'd be delighted because they actually really enjoy seeing that kind of thing happening.
Yeah.
What they get out of that is a kind of a real sense of that the work they're doing is worthwhile. And there are positive things going on. So they really enjoy seeing those kinds of things. My wife is from California, so every Christmas I go to California and I usually we have a branch out there and I usually spend some time with them. And I usually meet them twice or three times during the course of the visit. And I really just enjoy spending time with them because it's really just amazing even to consider that out in Los Angeles, in Hollywood, there's a bunch of people working on the Irish language and speaking Irish. And that's just almost a miracle in today's world. So you'll find there's a lot of positivity there and there's a lot of willingness to help out if there's enough time to arrange things and to coordinate travel schedules and so on.
It's true enough me and the FLTAs in America covered.
Yeah. Is toch go man an sin leis an scoil blian agus an chuoine bhfuil an rud ar fad muoinethe. Agus an visa. Féidir leart leis an uachtará nua faoi sin, féidir. In any case, let's move on to the next topic before we talk about that in the after party. We were talking about education. So group number 4, we're dealing with education. So are there any thoughts about Uideachas?
Education?
Well, we were dealing with many matters.
We're 5.
Oh, it was 5. Which group was dealing with education? Which number?
We were
Was
far away.
yes.
Yeah.
You were sitting over there, and there was some Skype input as well into the education group.
Yeah, the education group. We talked through a bit about what's being done now, what's available, what we'd like to see, maybe to bring it to the next level, and in terms of using apps and social media and that kind of thing. And I think the biggest takeaway for us was, and it's something that we had already discussed maybe for the springtime, is trying to incorporate a virtual classroom. Mm-hmm. And really, if there's, this is very helpful. And if there's anything that could be, that has ever put together, that would kind of give some guidance or direction into maybe how to put together a virtual classroom or to, not that you can Google it, I suppose, but really to make it effective for the Irish language. You want it to be conversational, you want it to be interactive, you don't want to lose the human part of it, but it would offer a little bit more benefit for people who maybe not be able to travel to the classes. Like we've had a couple of people who in the far, far west suburbs who would like to take the classes, but it's just too far for them to travel on a weeknight. So I think educationally speaking, that would be a good way for us to be able to grow to another level.
Okay.
There's a Philadelphia group that does it by Skype. Philadelphia Irish language.
Is there?
It does by. So they might have hints.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. Any other points, Con?
Looking at my notes here, how can we get teachers and not burn out our volunteers? Using resources that are already available, the benefits of social media as far as helping people find out about classes and what's available. how to advertise classes and get people to come to your classes. Also, not just getting them to come, but by golly, it's lovely at the beginning of the year and all these fine people show up, and then about halfway through the year, there are fewer.
It's like January gym memberships. Yeah.
And that's normal. That's just what happens.
Yeah.
But what can you do to retain people? What can you do to help folks who are adult learners in these groups and with busy lives? And how do you keep people who are in those situations from getting discouraged and keep them coming back because it's worth it? And it's not like the last boat was left and you didn't, you know, oh gosh, you're never going to be able to do this until you start again next fall.
Yeah.
How can we retain them? And then the other thing we had mentioned here was Dalton Gaeilge being such a nice clearinghouse for Irish language everything, but only if you actually participate in it and give them updates. And I'm not sure that we've been regular about making sure that they know about our classes and events and so on. And that's a way that people find out. You know, people know that they can go to Dalton Gaeilge and look for stuff, but they're not going to find it if we don't put it there.
Yeah.
I think too, one other thing we talked about with the education piece is, you know, and I think we've mentioned it already earlier, of just kind of reinforcing the message is that, you know, there's opportunity with these localized groups, whether it's Milwaukee or Chicago or down south, but to share lesson plans. So the teachers, I know you're spending a lot of time building lesson plans and you're spending a lot of time trying to refine them, you know, class over class, but to be able to share what things may have been successful in the lesson plan or have worked well in terms of a learning tool, I think would help, regionally would help us grow faster to be able to share what's worked and what hasn't. So again, I think that comes back to maybe meeting a couple of times a year or sharing, maybe we have, again, a centralized resource, whether it's Facebook or whatever, where we can share documentation and share information that would be helpful.
I mean, it's really remarkable to me how much this idea of communication is coming through. It's relevant to almost every single point we've discussed. So whatever you do after this evening, make sure you communicate about what you're doing. And it seems to be the best way to anticipate and find solutions for problems. Anything else on the education point?
Just the other thing I mentioned earlier about is just if we could get a book that is designed for teaching languages, because it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah,
lots of pictures.
Or teaching absolute beginners. Teaching absolute beginners. Yeah.
But even if like Eamon O'Donnell with the book that we do use, Gaeilge on Stroke, like if we could have American speaking on it as opposed to.
Do you think such a book would work as a commercial prospect? Like if because Eamon O'Donnell is very capable, but he's a businessman at the end of the day, and he would want to produce something that he would know that he could be sure would sell. And do you think a book of this type would sell in the United States?
I do.
You do? Yeah. It's our market research done then.
Yeah. The thing is,
well,
and therein it comes down to communication as well. So if a lot of the schools start to use it and we then share that again through their networking sites, it will grow for him as well.
Do you have contact with Eamon O'Donnell? Because that's something that I can facilitate. You know him. Yeah. He's not a hermit. Like it's easy to get in touch with him. So it's a suggestion to make. And it's something that I will mention to him as well. If he hears it from a few people, he may get the idea too that it's worth doing. And I suppose if it's not a commercial prospect, then one would need to look into. Is it something that some of the universities would be interested in developing a course for absolute beginners and material associated with that?
Notre Dame hates that.
Yeah.
Oh, will?
Yeah, the Irish for Domers.
Okay. An Hessian and Digital VR,
Domers.
Okay.
Same thing. Yeah.
Okay.
I was so cold about them in
Barbara, what you were thinking of Yeah. No, Neil Kirby.
Karen agus Mike.
Yeah.
Agus Peter Nancy Stenson. You know, Panama
Yeah.
on the house gun
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah. A mer space agad tain. Okay. An mer space agad tain a bheith ag cowr everything mar sin.
Agus ríis ní sam ar duine a tóú le Gaeilge is fear a bheith
Sure.
Danish.
Yeah.
You know.
Beidir go dúgah siad isteach.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, an blé sibh sé é sin answer féin agus má tá smuoine faoi le aga faoi sin conas an tionscnamh den tóir sin a churchan cín an racha se bh deagháil am faoi sin agus branomid an féidirling rud éigen an féidirling cúnamh a thuairstíh ar bailach a bheith lei sin. Yeah, an féidirlih an féidirlim brathirthh bheith smuoine faoi sin agus agus strátéis sé na ebrú. Okay. Come on. Anything else on education to go through?
Just maar verder van Dustin Hanley we're different than in a couple of different ways. It's been kind of said already, but explicitly, it's volunteer, there's no academic credit, there's no pace. It takes as long as it takes. It might be a lifelong thing, and it's not. We don't grow up with it around us. It's not. I think in Ireland, opportunities for open language are ignored, but not absent. I think in the States they tend to be absent.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why things are a little bit more culturally neutral. I think have been better hit in the States. But sometimes textbooks are very Irish-ish.
Do you mean like full of references to life in Ireland and so on, or do you mean referencing?
Yeah, things that yes.
One of the things that I was initially very proud of myself for this, and I thought of all the times that people here will say to one another, "So what are you?" And we all know what that means. It means, well, I'm French and German and Irish and English. And it's when you open any language textbook, it's going to be, so what country are you from? What's your nationality? And that's fine. You can all play make-believe and take on other identities and stuff. But then when you go around the class, so what's your nationality? American, American. And like, gosh, you got really good at saying that. This is okay. But there's this whole rich mine of, we talk about our heritage. And so I asked people, and I got, simple ways that people could accurately say with the same vocabulary that you're using to talk about other nationalities. My people were from Spain or from this or that. And so I built up this whole worksheet about it. I was so proud of myself. And the first time I passed this around in class, okay, so we went all through this. Okay, now go. So, Carabas the Hinted. That's it. What? Yeah. Every darn person. Okay, so why did I do this?
But that's exactly the kind of thing that you could take into account in designing or conceiving a textbook for learners of Irish in the United States or just outside of Ireland.
So I don't think it should be culturally sanitized. You just have to keep it in mind. Barbara reminded me, she used to use the textbook in Gaeilge, I think, and she really said she really liked the cultural attention that it paid.
Yeah.
So I think people kind of like the idea of Ireland. They don't mind having those things in front of them. It just occasionally you can get tripped up.
Yeah. Well, I think we're moving into we're moving into the planning stages for the textbook, and I think we have come to the conclusion that a textbook is needed and I think tonight may not be the night for us to discuss what should go on page 3 and 4 just yet. So if we move on to the next topic, or is there anything else in the education area?
I'm gonna decide what the plural of cubs is.
Are you going to create a new dialect? Yeah.
Jason,
do you want to say something?
Well,
Yeah.
I was going to say as far as, well, I mean, I guess not technically education, but with, kids in Ireland learning Irish and there seems to be a bad stigma with the language, and you see it with a lot of like some of the short films, where, it always like revolves around this insecurity, and Irish people don't want that. They don't, that's a negative trait to have, and when you keep making films like that, it just pushes them even farther away from the language, because for many years people didn't even want to speak Irish speakers because it was they considered it a sign of poverty. Oh, the poor people speak Irish, the ones making the money they're better off for speaking English. So
well, we work very hard on trying to encourage people to not do what you're saying and to do the opposite.
Well, of course,
but
that's what I'm saying is that they should make some films and just put a positive attitude on Irish, on speaking Irish, on
There's a television station that does that.
I do think you're right, though, and because I think it would normalize the language for people in Ireland.
Yeah.
When I was watching Michael Collins, that supposedly happened in 1922, where nobody was speaking Irish in Ireland.
This is something we work
just
a lot on
the street.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
This is
conversationally.
Something that I agree absolutely.
And it's just normal.
And it's something that's very important to Conradh, and it's a big part of our work. It's trying to encourage exactly what you're talking about.
But doesn't the government fund movies in Ireland? I mean, couldn't they just?
Yeah, but
Okay, but I'm not talking about a TV. I mean, a TV station is great, but even outside of that.
Yeah, the Irish government is involved in funding parts of the film industry or specific projects, but the Irish government would be very careful about imposing any kind of agenda, social, cultural, or political agenda on a filmmaker. That would be seen as something that would not really be compatible with the democratic values of the Irish state. That's something that can come from the public, though, and by not going to see a movie that they don't like, or going to see movies that they do like, or putting together projects themselves to produce a piece of work that they themselves
I'm just saying,
would be happy
there's
with.
some presence of Irish in things that are produced in
Well,
Ireland.
there has been
make it seem more normal, a regular part of life for people.
I know exactly. I know exactly.
One of the things I like the
Maybe
TV4
they
does
hate it
is they
so
do
much.
the Gaeilge schools that do like the songs in Irish. They did like the cup song in Irish and stuff like that, and that was really cool. And there's so many good positive comments on those videos, and comments by people, Irish people on, oh, this makes me really want to learn my language. And at the same time, you have some of these short films that are all about that are all spoken in Irish, but all about insecurity and a mother and daughter fighting, and people are like,
you're going to get though in any society, and Ireland is not unique in this. You're going to get divergent views on a lot of topics, and you're going to get people producing articles or movies that are trying to advance their own particular views and make their arguments, and that's part of living in a free society. That you're going to sometimes your opinions you don't like, and you have to deal with that, and you have to produce a more convincing argument yourself. So, and that's where Gaeilge comes in. That's kind of what we've been doing since 1893, and we've had some successes and we've had some not so successes, but we keep working away in it. So, anything else on the education thing before we move on to Group 5?
This is kind of minor, but I've never been able to get Radio na Lifa.
Radio na Lifa.
Never has ever worked.
There's a new website coming.
Okay, all right.
That's been an issue for a few months now, and I'm actually very involved with Radio na Lifa myself.
Okay.
And this is something that, but it's being solved. It's being worked on.
Okay, wonderful.
So I will let you know as soon as it's.
Please do,
okay.
Eager to hear.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is something just to be talked about with teachers or the group, but we do have a very low-key group, and I think that's all of Chicago, it seems. I do really well when I have a deadline and I need to be tested. So I don't know if there's a way to, without scaring people, to encourage testing. because I know I benefit from it.
Terrific.
You can test yourself too, even if there aren't tests in the class. Yeah.
Takes self-control.
I see what you mean.
Even the sample exam papers that are out there, I'm confident that if the volume isn't too great, our future things would be one correctly in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
The test is sort of great if I but can't do tactile with well with this. K euro no information.
Agus an costas an taiste le a iad freisin, yeah. Sin rud féidir gur féidir cúpla honad eile a chruthú le haine scrúta sin. And then now group 5. Who's in group 5? Okay, and this was about the money. So, can you solve all our problems?
And
so you want to keep back?
You can go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we spoke about, well, Lara Murphy, people with the Exul, Paul, Fishdog and Hain, Ryan, so I'm going to be after the ban the Immigrant Support Program, versus the Immigrant Support Program. We provide funding of around 15 million euros, so yes, I don't know, in around 16 and a bit $million a year for our community organizations internationally. And about 70% goes to the UK and about 20% to the US. Most in the US is spent on Irish immigration centres and welfare support. So for Irish people, the elderly who were immigrated here in the 1950s or 60s, they support services for them, for the undocumented, for the people whose immigration status is unclear. And I suppose we won't be prioritising that any less on account of the most recent election here either. So there'll be continued emphasis on that in the future. But there are funds as well that are allocated for social supports and community activities. And the likes of Gaeilge Park, the Irish American Heritage Centre, Irish Network Chicago, other organisations based here in Chicago would be received funding or would have been receiving funding in the past for specific projects, sometimes for capital infrastructure projects developed in Gaeilge Park and the IHC, sometimes for ongoing events sort of based projects, which in Chicago would get some sort of funding for. And there is capacity to apply for funding for that, and I'm happy to assist anyone in doing it. We spoke about, and there is a challenge, and this kind of opportunity cost point you made about for a relatively small, impressive group of people and really dynamic, but still a relatively small group of people and all on a voluntary basis in developing the infrastructural kind of community capacity to apply for funding, even though our requirements are quite limited. It's still Irish taxpayers' money, and there needs to be an accountability framework for it. And that's the sort of material that I think is covered in this book a little bit. And it is administratively burdensome. As someone who's been involved in lots of committees and organised a lot of events and assisted organisations in transitioning at that point, none of it happens easily, as you know yourselves. So we spoke about whether it's sensible to try and work directly with existing infrastructure and organisations that are there and have sort of subcommittees to work, as I said, with Gaeilge Park and GA. Perhaps look to engage in Irish language kind of strand to their activity. The same with ISDC, given those connections are already in place, and use that as a point for broadening. And that could be a mechanism through which to apply for funding to the likes of the grant program that we have. I'm not so familiar with Conradh. I think that might be administratively lighter again, and maybe ours tend to be you apply in March for funding for the you get allocated in June for the following kind of.
I'd recommend it as a first step. People would look at the Global Gaeilge scheme, which is money that comes from the Department of Foreign Affairs, but it's administered by Global Gaeilge, and that's kind of a good first thing to apply for. Then, if you're growing past a certain point, then you can liaise directly with the department and see. But if you also have ideas for things that could be supported, it's worth working those out and putting your thoughts on paper, and it's the kind of thing that we can approach the government about creating, or because the department will offer what's already there, or they will make you aware of the structures that exist already and how you can benefit from the structures that exist already. One of the things that we can do is to try, if we have an idea of an ideal structure or some new idea that you have, we can we can approach the government as a group that lobbies on behalf of the Irish language. We can say, we have this idea, and we think this is something that could work quite well, and we have a chance then of influencing them to go in that direction and create that kind of structure.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I guess the takeaway point for me is that there are kind of funding mechanisms available. There is money available both through the Foreign Mail scheme, through our own program. It's getting the sort of structure right to apply for it and really being clear, and maybe this group is a good starting point as to what the objectives of any such kind of funding would be. And again, from experience, my previous posting was in Stockholm, where I was dealing with a much smaller Irish community. But again, lots of very impassioned people who were very keen to make a difference. Some of them had very big ambitions as to what could be achieved. Some of them more realistic. You have to kind of pick in between something that's stretching but attainable. And I would always counsel, certainly in the short term, trying to kind of have a smaller range of events and activities and as big an impact as possible. So how do you kind of find that middle ground? There are a few things we could help with the consulate as well. I mean, Ceardlann and Gaeilge is a good existing structure that exists for the promotion of the Irish language in Ireland and internationally. And obviously it chimes and aligns very well with St. Patrick's Day activities, which are already, I know because we've started sort of working on them one way or another already at the consulate, a big thing. And whether there might be like a pop-up Gaelic development or something else that could take place in and around that period. I mean, I personally, and I know our incoming Consul General would be glad to be supportive of that. And that wouldn't just necessarily, or maybe even directly be through immediate direct funding, but it could be kind of hosting auxiliary reception and around it. You know, we have uniquely in Chicago of any city in the world, the only member, the first ever member of the Irish Parliament to be resident outside of Ireland was Senator Billy Lawless, who was an appointee of the Taoiseach. And he is a big proponent of one of his remit really within the challenge is promotion and engagement with the Irish diaspora. And that's across the world, not even just here in the US or even in the Midwest. But obviously he's based here in Chicago. He owns a number of the best restaurants and bars in the city. I'm sure, you know, we could engage with him if you wanted to do something in the Loop and the Gaeilge or something like that. That's a perfect venue for lots of such activities. So there are, those things are there and available. It's a case of take away from tonight, how best you establish a framework for considering what we'd like to achieve, what's realistic for a group our size to achieve in the short to medium term, and sort of build from that basis out. So yeah, that's the counsel I have, and I think kind of covers some of the points we made.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that, Anya? Or
I did apply for that law as well, but I don't have any.
Okay, then we'll have a chat about that in the after party.
I'm not hearing the organizations where you apply
Yes.
for funding. I'm sorry, there were two of them. One was Lauren on what?
Lauren and Wayne.
It's in the handout here.
The contacts for them at the back. The scheme, the Global Gaeilge scheme, it's not massive, but one of the things that tends to happen is that a lot of groups abroad, it's for Irish language groups abroad, they don't really know that it exists. Those that do know don't really understand how to apply for it. So a lot of the money isn't awarded. And it's we'd like to encourage people to apply for it and to apply for it effectively, because the amounts of money that are made available can be extremely helpful.
So what is that called?
It's called Global Gaeilge.
Thank you.
And it's administered by Glorna Mail. And if anybody is looking for assistance in applying for anything like that, they can be in touch with me and I'll give you some advice on that. Okay? So is there any chance of are there any people in Chicago who would be interested in helping you out privately? Is there any possibility of private funding?
I'll say, yeah, I mean, one of the things that in the religious organization we said, yeah, we don't want to be putting the arm on people all the time and worried about getting too big for our britches there. But if you don't ask for it, you don't get it.
Yeah.
And they decided they were going to ask, how many people can we get to give us $10,000 this year?
Mm-hmm.
And they got 5.
Yeah.
For the synagogue. So if you don't do it, you won't get it.
Yeah.
I know in the past there has been money through, I think it's through personal connections that relationships were established now. Some abstract, we should work together.
Yeah.
But you know, whether it be at the Irish Fellowship Club or whatever. Yeah, there's got to be something. The Devon and Bloomington has got a silent auction going now. Instead of shopping in the grave goods, that sort of self-funding.
Yeah.
Getting more money from the same people.
Yeah. I think what you have as a group is really special, and it's something that if somebody with the right mind, the right interest is aware of, they'd be delighted to have the opportunity to support. It's a matter of finding out who they are and making the representation to them the right way. So
I want to throw something out. I don't have any contacts here, but if you look at like the annual report of the Fund for Ireland, there's just a lot of people with a lot of money there, and there's a lot of Irish people.
Yeah, they have it. There is, and I mean, there is a phenomenal mental wealth in this country.
Chicago, yeah.
There are the fund specifically, as far as I know, these have a kind of part of their manifesto is that they fund at least almost entirely, or not entirely, projects within Ireland North and South. Like, so that's just a specific.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What I mean is, these are people who live in the Chicago area, and if anybody has any contact, these are people who like just look at it and they have tons of money. And if anybody knew a way to contact any of them,
it's usually not that difficult. A lot of those names are public, and email addresses are often easy to come by.
It's all public. And
it's all public.
Because it's a challenge again. Is like with seeking, because I know, say, University of Illinois and Urbana-Champaign is keen to establish an Irish Studies program, and I'd be very keen to support them with the concept. There are any amount of fantastic organisations desirous of kind of developing and promoting Ireland in a particular way. So it's how to present clearly what we would deliver with the funds, I suppose, to those organisations, just from a
Actually, knowing Fund for Ireland, I wasn't saying approach them at all. They do a great job. I mean, the individuals.
Yeah, you were talking about poaching their donor lists.
Yeah, you could do that, but the same point of apply. Like, there's still a kind of need to kind of clarify to them what their funds are being allocated towards. Like, so, I mean, they're buying into supporting something.
Well, and so we've looked at getting supporters for like the immersion weekend that we did last year and all, and we did get a few business owners that responded, but because we weren't a 501c3 status, they wouldn't donate, and it wasn't because they didn't want to, but they need to have that for their tax purposes. So it's very difficult if you don't have an established not only a committee structure but also just a tax structure.
What does it take to get that?
Not much. It's just, and I haven't figured out the ins and outs, but I've been contacted.
That might be something. I mean, that might be something you can look into if it's a bit difficult for one of the smaller groups to tackle. That's something you might come together to do and to apply for.
Under one organization.
We're working on that slowly in Minneapolis. They're working on it.
They are, I was in St. Paul. But it can be done. Again, I'm not familiar with exactly how the structures work there between the different Irish language groups. So it's basically there's one gate, largely one connected gate apart and one connected with the American Irish Heritage Centre, or is that too?
Located.
Where we're located.
They're not organizations.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Anything else to add to that point? Yeah, Barbara?
Should a question, that all of us who are involved in it, whether it's from the university level that I found myself in, or the community level, we're not actually educated in grant writing. And as you say, most of these places are looking for people who are professional grant writers.
Yeah.
And that's, if we could come together and have one person who knows a grant writer, who knows how to write for these grants, because, you're grappling at trying to have the terminology that appeals to
bureaucracies.
Yeah.
No, I mean, again, for that stuff, I mean, if there's a kind of idea as a specific organization that's interested in applying for that, I mean, I'm happy to assist in whatever personal capacity. I'm an expert in bureaucracies.
So I think we've talked through a lot of things now. I think to finish up this evening, then we can go around the table maybe, and each person can say something they learned and maybe some concrete thing that they think they could do over the next few months to make some kind of difference on the things we talked about tonight. Okay, so I'll start off in terms of what I learned most tonight. I think was the necessity for communication between groups, for sharing information, and for spotting the opportunities that are out there and streamlining some of the work that's happening already. And in terms of what I'm committed to doing over the next few months, I'm committed to opening the door to contact from all of you. If there's anything I can do for you, if there's any assistance or advice or support that I can provide, I would be delighted and very, very willing to do that. Shall we go clockwise or anti-clockwise? Is there a local custom on that here?
Clockwise.
Counter. Oh, excuse me. Positive language. Yeah. Yeah, Shannon?
So I think same, I would say communication and networking. I think, we've done a good job north and south of trying to kind of come together when we can. I think there's a greater opportunity regionally for us to do that. I think Devon's probably already started that for us. So I think what I'd like to try to do over the next few months is to work with what Devon's already put out there and see if we can grow it and see if we can somehow get a local directory out of it that's easy to access. Not everybody has access to Facebook, so maybe there's a different opportunity. We could set up a mailing list that's separate from that and keep together in emails and sharing information that way. But I'd like to work with Devon a little bit more on trying to expand that out.
Okay, good. Anya?
Something that I will do is contact Eamon O'Donnell at Facebook and see what he thinks.
Okay.
And then what I learned tonight is about applying for funding through Gaeilge Park, who already have that set up. So maybe we can try and apply like under a wing of them. Not that we're going to host all the events there, but that we'll say that we'll host some of the events there. That seems to be easier to
Okay, good. Like there is a constellation of things that are there at the moment. You have an Irish senator based in Chicago. You have a consulate which is very open to the Irish language and very supportive. You have a president of the GA who's personally very committed to the Irish language. I would say the iron's pretty hot right now, so you should really strike. You should really make some movements in those directions. Colleen?
I think I'm learning that, I tend to just see things the way they are as how they've always been and always will be. And there's a few things in Chicago that I've realized Chicago should be this massive center for certain things like this. But for one reason or another, it's not. Like the better regional events happen in Milwaukee, Madison, Bloomington, and we're just kind of struggling. So I'm finding out that it probably hasn't happened just because we haven't all talked about it. What I will do is I've had some ideas of things to, possibly host, in my area, and I'll try to talk about them.
Good. Mike?
Well, I'm never going to forget the phrase "come as a talk to" night.
In a good way or a bad way.
It's awesome. I mean, it's the perfect description. Perhaps from the point of view of kind sort of leaf. But I learned and I'm reminded that everybody can do things. And especially recently, talking about it, you have to let people in and let people do things and give them as much as they can eat. And it's not about how well you speak, it's about doing things. That and also I twice talked about lesson plans. I got a bunch for what they're worth. Anyone can see them. Right now, email is the distribution method, but there could be something else that we're warranted. At least we're now sharing them among the 5 teachers on the north side. At least now, we can see the material each is creating. So that we're taking steps as well.
Just helps think outside the box a bit.
There are a lot of different styles of teachers.
Exactly, yeah. People take what works for them or their students.
Yeah. Karen?
I was thinking actually the same thing as Mike, that tend to be so focused on the language itself that I forget that lots of different competencies and interests will make a group community first, and that I will fall short if I don't keep that in mind. And I'm just pleased as can be at so many people who joined us tonight. It just makes my heart swell. It's great. For myself, I can commit to two things, which are one already started, which is continuing to work on getting us organized so that we can have our 501c3 status and have that available to do interesting things with. And then the sort of vague idea that I have about a possible website to share stuff might, and work more on defining that and testing the idea with people to see if it would be something useful.
Okay. Ragnar?
Yeah, Bonnie Margain, I mean, I was really impressed, and again, from a professional and personal standpoint, I'm proud and happy to see the level of engagement and teachers here and people who learned Irish, I suppose, from brought up in the US. Like, it's fantastic, and I really welcome that, and I'm glad to see it. Yeah, in terms of takeaways, like for me, a few things I've said already, sort of in the process of planning and doing, and involved in communication sort of bracket, which is to try and get more focus with the consulate and being centralized messaging service as far as regular newsletter and other information that the organizations here can feed into. I do think like it would be nice to have like a concrete takeaway in terms of focus for a particular event, and I mean, something which is relatively short term now would be the Shotgun available period in March. And I think, if there was an addition for the institutions on the north and south here and any other organizations who might want to partner with them to want to do something specifically around that period, said we'd be happy to support it, and I'm happy to engage with Senator Lawless and others as well for that. Likewise, if there was an interest in finding, neutral territories or for a meeting to kind of crash through issues a little more in depth, like whether it's media structure or whatever else, I'm happy for people to contact me to look to arrange something at the consulate itself. We don't have a very big kind of meeting room, but maybe it's about the size of this table. We could certainly have approximately the same number of people around it, if people were so minded. And that's pretty much it. I mean, there's a lot of other odds and ends, but just that you all know, I'll give you my cards, as I said, and my door's open, so if you can contact me, this is whatever way we can.
Okay, Conradh?
Virginia, I showed up late to introduce myself. And it was really great. It reminded me of when we showed up for our Irish class this time, there was like this massive room full of people, and something substantively happened. And it's very exciting to actually, like sit down and meet with the people from Gaeilge Park. I always read everything about what you guys are doing. I've never
They actually exist,
once.
though, as you can see.
Never made it over once. Can't get over there. But and just to hear the support, to hear, we've always wondered about, your organization. I have, and here you are, like supportive, and to hear this language support. I'm really charged to see all of these. Some of the new people, and not new, but who like kind of joined the class. I mean, you already speak, walked in speaking great Irish. But it's just a good moment, and I just see a lot going on, and I just feel like empowered and encouraged. I think I can do something. I'll find things that I'm good at. There are some things I am good at.
I believe there are many things. Yeah?
I know how to write grants. No, I'm not saying I'm going to do it. But
now you tell us.
Oh, yeah, just said it. But I did. No, at any rate, I'm sure I'll be good at it.
Okay.
What I took from it is how much we have to offer and how, as everybody says, we can bring it together. It occurred to me that I might look into modes of transportation, especially if the South and the North want to get together in terms of what's publicly available, and that is called CTA Metro.
Well, also maybe these places that you can rent or they provide the driver too. Not a big school bus because there aren't that many of us, but surely some places, you can rent a van or get somebody who could drive, and that maybe there's more transportation than we think there is, and that I would look into that.
Okay, good.
Because Maureen is in the far south suburb, travels up
I
north
see.
to the, so
Okay.
she kind
What's the
of.
name of the suburb?
Homer Glen.
Homer Glen.
42 miles to the here.
Comes up to the north side.
10 o'clock, 10 p.m. at night.
Age?
Candidates for changes. So, I mean, I'm kind of reiterating some of the things that other people have said about communication. I think there's a lot that's already going on in the community. I think our group in particular, and also the park group, has probably made a lot of inroads that we need to kind of continue with, like the 501(c) status. We had within our group talked about a meetup, setting up a meetup group. And that was one of the things that we hadn't really gotten very far on because I guess one woman on the south side had tried to set up a meetup group and it was canceled due to lack of interest. And I'm hopeful that
In the Van of is Lord Burt's agro.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So
Neil or Bert is there.
I'm kind of
Tony's
hopeful
emoji.
that we can maybe revisit that and set something up in that regard. But with regards to our students that are here, if there's something that you want to see happen, just come and talk to us. And if you want to be in charge of it, even better. And even if you don't want to be in charge of it, but you want to say, well, hey, I'd like to see this happen. I think this will help me as a student to learn and to engage with the community. Keep talking to us. And if you're willing to put in the work, I think that would invigorate other people in your group. Because I will tell you, I think Virginia alluded to this a little bit, but Maureen and Kelly and I Kelly's been teaching for a lot longer, but Maureen and I only really the last couple of years. But it really did our hearts good when we saw how many people came in and how many people are so excited. Because for many, many years we've been here and we just couldn't keep students and it was hard. And you guys really want to learn and this makes us want to teach.
That's really great to hear. Yeah. Rich, what do you think?
Just a big during a to the two fellas, right? And the two ladies flying the flag down the south side. And to Karen Michael flying the flag on the north side. You guys do an awful lot of work. For someone like me, who's from the island of Ireland, is very, very proud to see that because we feel very alone when we first arrive. And we discover you, that really makes us feel at home. And homesickness kind of goes away for a while anyway. So it really helps. So it means a lot to me, personally. Second point, I think a lot of people around this table have a lot of other skills besides doing all that, the dinner table. My wife is a professional grant writer. I'm a teacher. A bunch of other people are teachers. There's a banker who comes to our document.
Yeah.
They're huge people. They all have other skills that could be utilized. Yeah, that's all I kind of say. It's cropped up all the time when you're talking.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that person could do this. That person could do this. Why aren't we using that?
And I think that's the message we need to be able to say to a class one night. Like, we're looking for a grant writer. If you know one, throw it out, whatever. And I don't think
I don't think anybody would be offended if that question was asked to a class. There's no reason not to. Yeah.
That's great.
Sean, any thoughts?
Well, part to lead off of what Rich was saying, I think it kind of reinforces the thing I said earlier. I think that we really need to centralize what we're doing here in Chicago because we got people looking into getting that tax status down on the south side. We got people doing that on the north side. We have people that have talents on the south side, people that have talents on the north side. We need to pool the resources together. I mean, I'm not saying that we're centralizing that we're all going to be a column, we still run the same way. But for the bigger picture, we need to get together so that we can all enjoy these resources together. I also think that they were saying in our group thing, it wasn't really dealing with fundraising. That the most important thing I think is Irish Americans and the broader being just broadly American is that, you know, being fluent in Irish is probably not going to happen for the majority of the people that go into the program. The most important thing that we could take away or to spread is the promotion of the language, to promote it. And I think that being engaged in the community with the GAA clubs and that, and I'm a member of a hurling club.
What's the name of the club?
The Michael Cusicks.
Oh, right.
And they don't.
Well, he was a very, very important Irish speaker too.
But of the engagement as far as with the Irish language stuff in the club isn't really there. And it's something that at least I'm going to try to change. I'm going to try to at least with the GAA. Because I'm not really that great at hurling. To help in this regard.
You know, just like there are two people who are very involved in Conradh Gaeilge and the Gaelic League in the early 20th century who were also pretty bad at hurling. Sean O'Casey and Ernon Blythe, but because they were bad at hurling and they were sitting on the sideline all the time, they came up with a lot of other projects that turned out pretty well. So don't worry so much about that. Ryan, any ideas?
Well, one thing I learned is that my Irish is even worse than I thought it was. Talking in Irish, you know, I was like, I'll probably get 30%. I was lucky to get maybe 10 or 15, but
well, by Cora, logging in Ishar Ball, it's an after party.
Yeah, I got about 10% of that. But I also like yeah, so I mean, and also just to maybe be a bit more fearless with you know what I do, or well, just how, you know, put myself out there for more stuff and improving my own value by learning more Irish and, you know, learning more, you know, about what's going on in the world. You know, I've never been to Ireland and Notre Dame, to Bloomington, Indiana. Never been to any of those places, and there's a lot out there that I've not taken advantage of. So it's just basically a lot of homework for me to do. Basically.
Okay. And what you're saying is that you will do your homework.
Yeah.
Okay. All the teachers in the room will be delighted to hear that. Yeah. Okay, come on, Ryan. Moira?
Well, we talked about communication, and of course, you know, I think that's a big issue for us. I'd like to maybe see what these groups are that are in Chicago. I know we have a lot of groups, and try and put some framework around that to see, you know, how we can work with people.
Yeah.
And, you know, just how we want to approach them. But I think one thing that's important is that, you know, we as a group stay talking to each other, because we can't individually just, you know, I'm not going to call up 40 groups and say, hey, I'm Mary from the Irish language group. You know, we need a plan. We need to communicate and see how we want to approach people. So that's something that I would like to work on. Okay. Another idea then that we also talked about was in our the Irish American News that we got, just having a very short, small little column in Irish for people.
That's a lovely idea.
And, you know, we could introduce basic words, basic phrases for newbies. And if it was just a paragraph, you know, anybody out there who's reading it and they're fluent and they make mistakes, they'll be sure to let us know.
Is there anybody here who has contacts with people who produce that?
Oh, we can do it in a minute. All we need to
well, like, they kind of have to do it if you ask. So ask.
Who?
Gaelic Park. They have to do it if you ask.
Down at the board down at Gaelic Park that have that are very close to the Irish American news editors.
Oh, okay.
And so they might.
I think they would.
Maybe that's a great
content.
And maybe that's a great opportunity to do a group to do, you know, to bring the two groups together.
Sure.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, great.
That's great.
So,
would you be interested in making that contact?
I would be interested in working on that.
Okay.
You know, not that my Irish is really that great.
No, well, there's the one thing. The first thing to do is to win the space and to set it up.
Yeah, we can get
and
that
then the
from.
second step is to produce the content. So
I could.
Okay, great. Coach?
I just think it's really ironic that here we are all here because we love Irish, you know, language,
and our biggest problem is communication. I find that ironic.
Yeah.
But I don't know what I can do. I mean, I have a shop that people come into, a pretty heavy Irish neighborhood. So if there's ever flyers or posters, that we want to get the general public interested in, I'd be happy to post them. I have some
That's
places.
fantastic.
I put,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's nothing.
Bahana.
Shovel Blahana. Oh, good morning. Came out to Will and Shopper?
Romance and Blooms? No.
Okay. Alshin and Tannum.
In
Edison Park.
Edison Park. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
And many students from our classes are from that area.
Okay.
Eileen
And
and
you'll sell more
sister
flowers,
and
of course.
Barbara. They all live in Edison Park.
Charlotte?
Wasn't it at bars? Yeah, correct.
Ain't Swinter, Charlotte?
Mhm.
Kelly? Ain't Swinter?
A lot. I'm really glad to have this nice organized bulleted lists, and I'm in this kind of business, so I like to have current information. I'm
By the way, these are early kind of advanced copies. The proper printed version is not ready in time, so I will be mailing probably to Mike or Karna mail a set of much nicer copies as soon as I get back.
This is great, and dual language, and I might even use something like this in class. Class is kind of an example. I'm always energized by things like this. I pledge to wear my wristband religiously and work on getting the 501c3 and our kind of our structure solidified. Look forward to working with Ragnar. It's great to meet you. And
great.
Thank you.
Oh, no, so it's arrived. Just my before, there are two other people in this conversation who are joining us by Skype.
I think they got off giving us our opinions.
Sinead. So we'll aim rud le rá agusha fui adacht agus nor the ascrian as no ascroias.
John or what to does? I've learned tonight that it's not what you know, but who you know. So Aaron and Mike and Brianna Crawford, I would be left in the dark literally tonight. So Gurmila Mahagat as Shin, and the takeaway is that I will get back to Rinna Gaeilge and see if I can talk them into giving us some more financial support to run yet another kohal to support the community people who are working in the language in this country. Because as you saw, Cuan, it is amazing the work that they have.
It is.
That they do. It's phenomenal. I mean, I could not believe, I'm 10 years in this country. I could not believe what was going on in the community and continues to go on such with such a smile on everybody's face. I was okay. I'll continue to wear my I love Gaeilge band as well.
Come on. I'll wear her fault. Oh no, Cormatin. Agus Cormata socht and Ruddy a rinnemer le chéile fi blian hin freshen.
I'm often cherish
Agus am Jerish. Yeah, John? John is Adam though, nacha?
I think he there he is.
Owen.
John.
Clish my too, yeah. It's Fraser.
Okay, yeah, well, I'm stuck out here in the middle of Iowa, and what I have learned most from this meeting is that there's a long road ahead of me, and you have talked about so many issues and problems and things that I haven't even started to dream of. So I those look forward to.
Great.
Sorry.
Will you make sure that you send me your postal address too, and I can send some of the material we were working on tonight to you as well?
I will certainly, yes. I downloaded the lower on.
Oh, okay, come on.
I was looking at that on the other screen, so that's really useful, and I'm going to make a lot of use of that in the future. Right now, I have a group of 12 people on, or about 10 people on an email list, and I get about 4 regularly coming to a class that I'm running, we're doing Now You're Talking.
Oh yeah.
Because it's free and the book is pretty, but
yeah.
You know, I have problems here. Somebody mentioned that in Chicago that although it's such a huge place, the good events seem to happen in other locations like Madison and Minneapolis and Bloomington. And I'm in this very similar situation in that I'm in the capital of Iowa, but the Irish classes that are happening happen 2-3 hours away. So I'm here on my own. I'm trying to organize this. And I really found hearing the group tonight very refreshing, and it has motivated me to keep going at what I'm doing and create an infrastructure that if it does grow, I will have a sound footing for growing and advancing. And
come on.
Yeah.
Welcome, Arilat, August. My favorite linga
Thank you very much for coming. Thanks
you're welcome.
Mike and Kurt for organising it. Good meal and good Gaeilge.
Gurma Artain. August Iho Wahagif. Freshen. Slán go fóil. Slán. Okay. So shall we do one last piece of business? A photograph. And then we will commence our after party.
Okay, I guess she'll say.
And having my late conditionally saying, we grab producer, we should
Just, if I don't get a look, then I need to leave now, so, and that's fine. Maybe we'll just do that.
No, I know, me too.
I don't know what that
Don't worry about it.
Where I don't want to be.
Yeah, well, it's atomic piano, right?
Don't worry about it. That's fine.
I don't know what I'm.